WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3, 9.
I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So I was at a wedding this weekend. Congratulations to my good friends, Scott Fischel and Annie Freeland. I don't know if she's changing her name to Fischel or not, but they had a wedding on Saturday. It was wonderful, and I want to start with this. When I was at the wedding, and this is one thing that, look, the people that I grew up with and things like that, they will tell you that I have always been the way that I am. Like, people will say, has Jared Stillman always? Yes, he's always been this way. And so everybody at the wedding, we were talking about sports. You know, people I haven't seen for a while or people from out of town that have come back, you know, things like that. And I talked to so many people at this wedding that wanted to talk about Will Levis. You know, what do you think about Will Levis? Is Will Levis the future? Levis. And I'm sitting there, you know, talking about Levis, and I say the same thing that I've said to you guys for weeks, which is I like Will Levis. You guys remember the draft process. We talked about these quarterbacks day after day after day. And I told you I loved Anthony Richardson and I liked Will Levis. My order was Richardson, Bryce Young, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker. That was how I viewed the quarterbacks. So I like Levis. I think that, you know, in a perfect world, I could see Levis becoming like a Justin Herbert, you know, high end, a Dan Marino type, low end. I could see him being a Blaine Gabbert, although Gabbert wasn't as big and physical as Will Levis was. But I like Will Levis. But when I think about the 2023 Titans, I'm not thinking Will Levis. I mean, he wasn't even the first pick that the Titans made. And yet, I think I might be alone in terms of not looking at this upcoming season and thinking, Will Levis. So ESPN's FPI, the Football Power Index, which ESPN is so proud of, even though the Football Power Index is almost never right. So the FPI has come out for next season. And I love ESPN, I do. But the FPI is something that they talk about ad nauseum. You know, we'll be talking to Trevor during the college football season, and we'll say, you know, Trevor, what do you think about Oregon's path to the playoff? And he'll say, oh, yeah, you know, the FPI says that they've got a 49% chance of winning out, and it's like the rest of their schedule is Scarbini State. What are we talking about, that they've only got a 49% chance? So the FPI is an ESPN thing. ESPN loves it. They put it at the bottom of the scroll every time, and I think it is very rarely right. But it is, quote unquote, their analytic model. And even that thinks the Titans are going to stink this upcoming season. ESPN's FPI has the Titans listed at 28th in the NFL. As we talked about when their subjective polls came out and their power rankings and Todd McShay's mock draft and The Athletic and everybody else, and they put the Titans in that 29th range, every time I say that's crazy. And the reason why I think it's crazy is because the combination of Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill has won too many games over the last 5 years for me to think that the Titans are going to be 28th. If you're 28th in the NFL, at best, you're a 5-win football team. At best. Last year, Indy was 28th. They were 4-12-1. The Titans are going to win more than 5 games this upcoming season. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not just going to say, oh, everybody's wrong and my local team is the best and they're going to be great, and I'm not going to do that. But I am the only person on the planet who thinks the Titans are going to win 11 games this upcoming season. I'm the only person in the world. For all of you after the draft, when I was dogging the Titans about how they went about their business, and you all texted in and said, we want a Titan fan who hosts this show, I think they're going to win 11 games this year. So maybe I'm the kook. But again, I cannot see them being this bad unless you start to factor in Will Levis. And that goes back to the wedding on Saturday. Will Levis, Will Levis, Will Levis, Will Levis, Will Levis. Do people think Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans this year? And is that why people think that the Titans aren't going to be very good? Because I'm not sure what benefit that does to the team to have Will Levis be the starting quarterback. I mean, even if, let's say the Titans do finish 28th, and everybody tells me this is a great upcoming quarterback class, right? They've got Caleb Williams out of USC, Drake May out of North Carolina is going to be in this year's class. Let's say you're 28th. Are you going to pick a quarterback next year? But you have Will Levis. But if you're 28th, it's going to be because Will Levis plays a bunch, and then will you have soured on Will Levis? And again, that's what everybody must think that the Titans are going to make Will Levis the quarterback this year. And unless everything goes haywire in the first 6 games, I don't see it. And I don't see everything going haywire in the first 6 games because I expect Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill to do what they have always done as a trio, which is win games. So I don't get, again, the analytic models. And I remember a couple years ago during COVID, the Titans were ranked behind the Dallas Cowboys in the FPI. And I remember texting Fitz and being like, how are these analytic models saying that the Cowboys are better than the Titans? And this was before the 2020 season, and the Titans were, in fact, better than the Cowboys that year. And I said, how are the Cowboys 5th? And so Fitz took it to ESPN Stats Info, and it was like, oh, there's a bunch of factors that are included in the FPI, including win totals out of Vegas, the over-unders. So it is still somewhat subjective. And I don't think that the win totals in Vegas are going to be what decides who's good or not this year. So everybody thinks the Titans are going to stink except for me. Every single person, apparently, except for me, thinks the Titans are going to stink. Every single person wants to talk about Will Levis, Will Levis, Will Levis, Will Levis. And even the ESPN analytic model says you're going to be 28th in the NFL. So one of 2 things are happening here. Either I'm right and I just get the Titans better than everybody else does, or I'm the biggest local homer there is. And I cannot assume that it's number 2 based off a lot of the things that I've said and done over the years. Now, here's the other thing I do want to point out. So this has the rating. And I did not read enough about what defines the rating. For instance, the Chiefs are plus 6.4. I don't know what that 6.4 means. And so I'm about to talk about this like somebody who talks about TV or radio ratings when they don't really know what they're talking about. And so the rating for the Chiefs is plus 6.4. The Bills are plus 5.6. The Titans at 28 are minus 3.5. Well, the teams that are in their zip code, 2726, the Panthers are 3.4, minus 3.4, which means that the Titans, the ESPN FPI considers the Titans right there with the Panthers. 3.2 for the Falcons, which means that they're right there with the Falcons. Now, the fact that the Bears and the Rams are tied for 23rd at minus 2.4 and you're minus 3.5, that I cannot understand. But then again, Ian on Friday or Thursday said that he would take Justin Fields over Ryan Tannehill right now, and a bunch of you agreed with him. So maybe I'm the one who's wrong on the Bears again. But every team after the Titans, as far as this whatever fakakta rating you want to call it, every team after the Titans is minus 5. So the Titans are minus 3.5. Everybody else is minus 5. Indy minus 5.1. Tampa minus 5.5. Arizona minus 5.8. Texans minus 6.1. So it's not like they think that you're the dregs of the NFL, because that's where, again, all the teams that are minus 5 belong, and I don't disagree with those. Although I do think the Colts might be a little bit better than that, and I certainly think Tampa, the Cardinals, and the Texans are all going to stink. But they think you're going to stink. They think you're the 28th best team. And then there's other teams in this that I'm like, okay, again, using the Titans at minus 3.5, which is their ranking here. New England is plus 0.3. What the hell's so good about the Patriots? Were the Patriots good last year? No. Did the Patriots get much better? No. Did the Patriots change their quarterback like the Jets did? No. So you're telling me that Bill O'Brien took them from the stink hole they were last year to, a positive? Or the Saints minus 1.8. You're minus 3.5. The Saints are minus 1.8. How? The Saints ain't that good, folks. They got a quarterback who's not even better than your quarterback. So, again, I don't know what it is. Again, either I'm the biggest homer. I'm the biggest Titans homer there ever was. Or everybody is significantly underselling the Titans here. That the Titans are completely undervalued. And considering that I've told you guys when I don't think the Titans are going to win games, and I've told you guys when the Titans are screwing up and everything else, I think I've earned some points to be objective around here. And they're not going to be that bad. Even though the subjective polls say it, and apparently this objective poll seems to believe so. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. And here's one thing that I will say for certain when it comes to the Titans and next season. And not just the Titans, but the NFL as a whole. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance. It's Ask D. Mace.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D. Mace.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willie, and on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whatever your destination in life, you can get there easier with a checking account from F&M Bank. At F&M, our checking accounts give you the tools you need to manage your money well, like our smart free checking account that's actually free. Because sometimes the basics are more than enough, making lives better by making banking easier. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3 carat, 4 carat, 5 carat, up to 10 carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If this is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large, precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. And Harry and I joked with some of the people behind the scenes the other day. It's like, are we just going to forget that this team was the number 1 seed in the playoffs a couple of years ago? Like, we just, as an entity, it's been completely forgotten about. We are so wildly quarterback obsessed as a company that the lack of belief in Ryan Tannehill to be good enough, and the concept, I think what most people believe is that the team will be handed over to Will Levis and then we'll go full incomplete, like, hey, we're in rebuild mode. So, we're going to try out young talent, see what happens. I feel like that's the overall tone around the Titans for a lot of people.
There you go. That was Fitz on our show last week. That was about why the subjective ESPN Power Rankings had the Titans so low at 28th. Now the FPI, their objective ranking, says the Titans are 28th. They say they're going to suck. And I maintain this. Either I'm the biggest homer in the history of local sports radio when I think the Titans are going to go 11-6, or I understand the team more than maybe everybody else does. Now, Adam Vingan sent me this. This is how ESPN's FPI is compounded. There's the offensive component of the FPI, offensive contribution to expected point margin versus average opponent on a neutral field. The defensive component of the FPI, defensive contribution to be expected point margin versus average opponent on a neutral field. God, I hate this stuff. ST, special teams component of FPI, special teams contribution to expected point margin versus average opponent on a neutral field. And then Vingan sent me apparently the picture or the rankings of the offense, and that it is the Titans offense that people think that ESPN's analytic numbers, that they're whatever you want to call it, thinks they're going to suck. The Titans currently have an offense of minus 2.7, which ranks, let's see, it's bad. And so the only teams with worse offenses, Carolina, rookie quarterback, Washington, no quarterback, Arizona, no quarterback, Indianapolis, rookie quarterback, Tampa Bay, no quarterback, Houston, rookie quarterback. They think the Titans defense, they think that the Titans defense is going to be bad too, but not as bad at 0.9. And they actually think their special teams are going to be good, which I have a hard time understanding because the Titans don't have a kicker, they don't have a punt returner, and their special teams coach freaking sucks. Now, they did go out there and get more special teams coaches. I did see over the weekend. I forget what show it was, but one of our shows tweeted out that their topic was, where have the Titans improved the most on offense? And I was just scrolling my phone on Twitter, which, by the way, a lot of people wanted to chime in on my Twitter over the weekend. But I was just scrolling around on Twitter, and it was, where have the Titans improved the most this offseason? And I'm like, special teams coaching with all the, all the extra special teams coaches they got. But ESPN's analytics actually think the Titans special teams is going to be okay. Let me say this. I don't know if the Titans offense is going to be good. I feel fine about the defense. Special teams, I think it's going to be an unmitigated disaster, but it's not going to be such an unmitigated disaster that it costs you more than 1 or 2 ball games, just like it cost you a couple of ball games last year. what I see with a lot of rankings, and I understand it because I'd probably rank it similarly, but what I see with a lot of these rankings about who's expected to be good next season or what the hopes are or everything else, it's just a lot of people assuming that what happened last year is going to be what happens this year. And if there's anything we've learned about the NFL, it's that that's really not how this league operates. I would agree with you that I think Philadelphia should be a good team. But at the same time, this time last year, we were talking about whether or not Jalen Hurts was an actual starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. I mean, I look at teams across the league. Remember Green Bay? Green Bay had been the 1 seed in the NFC 2 years in a row. Aaron Rodgers was coming off of back-to-back league MVPs. Everybody thought Green Bay was going to be either the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed in the NFC. This time last year, everybody thought the best teams in the NFC were Green Bay and the Rams. Tampa Bay, who ended up making the playoffs simply because they had one player, wasn't even very good. Everybody thought Daniel Jones stunk. Everybody thought the Seahawks were bluffing with Geno Smith. So what I think we get into a lot of is really forgetting how this league operates and just assuming that, well, the Titans lost 7 games in a row last year. It all came crashing down. They traded A.J. Brown. Tannehill stinks. And so this team's going to be awful. But it's not actually approaching what makes a team good and successful in an NFL season and what doesn't. And this is why I think the schedule matters so much. This is why I don't even begin to talk about expectations until the schedule's out. And I don't make an official season grade until training camp starts. But all those things have to be factored in. The fact that last year you got smoked by Buffalo, and this year you're not playing Buffalo. And that last year you got smoked by Philadelphia, and you're not playing Philadelphia. No, you're not playing those teams this year. You're playing the Atlanta Falcons. You're playing them instead. You're playing the Chargers instead of the Chiefs. So I think this is something that we constantly lose sight of. We just assume that what happened last year is going to be what happens this year. And I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I want to say last year, I think I picked the Buccaneers and the Ravens to be in the Super Bowl. And so it's not like I'm somebody who is all-knowing. And I think I expected the Titans to win their division and all of those things. But when I just see 28th, like 28th means you suck. Indianapolis was 28th last year in the NFL. And I just can't believe that's going to be the case. Now, I found this fascinating, and I was just kind of scrolling through, and Titans Wire had put together a bunch of different, national analysts and what they thought of the Titans' season and schedule and everything else. And I thought that the Titans were going to be, I picked them 11-6. I think that a lot of people, I assumed that the Titans were going to be somewhere around 9 wins, 8 wins, something like that. Then I pulled up Titan Wire, where they had the headline is "Experts Pick the Titans' Upcoming Record," or they predict. ESPN, Mike Clay and Aaron Dolan, whoever that is, under 7.5 wins. Woof. Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report, 6-11. Woof. Cynthia Freeland, NFL.com, she says over 7.5 at 8.1 wins. I can live with people who think the Titans are going to win 8 or 9 games. What I can't live with is people that think the Titans are going to win 5 games, like Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Now, I like Matt Verderam because he used to come on my Sirius show a bunch. I like Matt Verderam, but he says 5-12. I don't know if Vrabel can make it through a 5-12 season. Now, Ben Arthur, who covers the Titans and understands the Titans and has been around here for a while, he at Fox Sports, Ben Arthur, says 8-9. And I don't know who Ian Valentino is of Pro Football Network, but he says 7-10. So this is going to go down, and again, it's early, and things could change. But this is going to go down as either I'm the biggest homer in the history of local sports talk radio by saying the Titans are going to be 11-6, or I'm onto something here. And I just think this 28th thing, I think this is crazy. The FPI says 28th. Text her into the text line. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. And our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, I think the Titans should be somewhere around 10-15. 10 might be a little strong for me. 15, I think it's probably fair. Peter King had the Titans, 18-19 a couple weeks ago? That's probably fair. Again, that's what 8-9, 9-8, that's what that would get you. And again, I don't think the Titans have a roster of an 11-win team. I just think that when I looked at the Titans' schedule and I went by game, it ended up being 11-6. But I'm the only person in the world that thinks that. I don't even think anybody locally that if you were to just to hand them the Titans, maybe it would be a little different because when TD and I went over this by just picking quarterbacks, TD picked Tannehill over a lot of these quarterbacks that were out there. But I bet you that if you were to go around to the local media, in fact, I want this to be tried on this station. Can I just do this out of thin air?
Maybe.
Okay. I want every single person on this station, Joe, I believe Robbie's out all week, so Adam's in for Robbie.
That's correct.
Joe, Adam, Chase. Is Michelle out all week?
I know she was out today. I believe she's back tomorrow.
Okay, Michelle, Caroline, Willie, Derek.
Derek was out today. I don't know his status this week.
Okay. I want everybody to decide what they think the Titans' record's going to be, and then I want them to go game by game. Just like we did the Friday that the schedule came out. We went game by game. I want everybody to go game by game. And then I want to see what their record is. Because I did not think the Titans were an 11-win football team. In fact, I thought the Titans were probably going to be a 9-win team with me. And then when I came upon these games, I think the Titans are going to beat the Chargers at home. The Chargers have a new offensive coordinator. They're flying across the country. They're playing at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I think the Titans are going to win. The Titans had all those injuries last year, and they were right there, and their doofus offensive coordinator took the running back off the field. So, again, maybe I'm a homer. That's what I want. I want everybody to do that. I want them to do that exercise. I want them to think to themselves, what do you think the Titans' record is right now? Then I want you to go game by game and explain each game and see if it's the same. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. OTAs kickoff today, but the NFL has already given one Titans bubble contender some really good news. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. Speaking of good news, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those guys are always good news. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know that your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heatwave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical by guys proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
All the big plays.
Ball right to score. Yoshi sets up Matt Duchesne.
All the big stories.
For the Predators, are you holding on to what you got, or are you selling some guys off?
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Green flag is in the air.
It may not happen that way every game.
His shot stopped.
Gotta play better, gotta coach better.
TD Tigers.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback and member of the Tennessee Titans Ring of Honor and Pro Football Hall of Fame. On the field, I always wore a helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19 today.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
Cromwell Media, the proud owner of this radio station, is recognizing 3 of our talented teammates in May. At 102.9 The Buzz, part-time host Roman Haviland notches 11 years, and Chris Atticus, the Buzz brand manager and midday host, celebrates 3 years. Nick Frazier, part-time producer on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, passes his first year with us. We thank each of them for helping us make a difference every day. And by the way, we're always looking for new talent. Ping us at together@cromwellmedia.com and let's talk.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The Malik Willis part for me, I think they basically told you what they really think. Do I even want him as my 2? The 2 is like, answer one question. The starter goes down on opening day. Do you want Malik Willis on the field for the rest of the year? And the answer would be no. It's a tough pill to swallow for the kid. I don't think they'll give up on him right away. Would I be surprised if all of a sudden a year from now they're telling us about a potential position change? He won't do it, nor should he. He should go to the other league and play. But he's got hurdles now. It's that simple. I don't think it's over, but they just drafted a quarterback.
There you go. That was Pat Kerwin moving the chains, talking about Malik Willis. And so Titans OTAs start today. Tomorrow will be the first open OTA, and I will be there. Now, practice ends at like 2 o'clock. So we may have to figure this one out. But the good news is I will be there, and we will see what is on the practice field, and we will report back to all of you what we see tomorrow at Titans OTAs. But the NFL has already given Malik Willis some good news today. And that is that the old third quarterback rule is coming back into play. This is from Mike Florio. The emergency third quarterback rule is back. It actually never left, Florio writes. The league used to allow teams to dress a third quarterback for emergency purposes. If he entered the game before the start of the fourth quarter, the other 2 could not return. Eventually, the league allowed teams to dress a 46th player without regard to position. Few teams ever choose to dress a third quarterback, rolling the dice on Lightning not striking twice in the same game at one of the most protected positions. For the 49ers and the game, the dice came up craps in a bad way during the NFC Championship, as we both know, when San Francisco lost both their quarterbacks. Now, the league has brought back the third quarterback rule, giving teams the ability to designate a roster spot for an extra signal caller. There are 2 catches, Florio writes. First, the player must be on the 53-man roster and cannot be called up from the practice squad. So, for instance, the Titans could not elevate somebody on Saturday from the practice squad and then designate them as the third quarterback. So they have to be on your 53-man roster. And 2, the third quarterback can only play if the other 2 are injured or ejected. If one of the injured quarterbacks is clear to return, the third quarterback must exit the game. Florio writes, the question now becomes whether teams will devote a spot on the 53-man roster to a third quarterback. Plenty currently don't. Perhaps more now will. And Florio says, here's hoping the league holds the line this time without eventually morphing the resurrected third quarterback rule into something that can be used for a player at any position. If that ever happens, most teams would devote the spot to other positions, taking their chances with two quarterbacks. So I've never understood this. I have never understood why the old third quarterback rule went away. Like, I get it. The teams were saying, well, we basically have a third quarterback who's active in every single game, even though they're technically inactive. So why not just let us have that player and we can pick whoever it is? And the league did it. And so then when the league allowed teams to do that, they said, well, we don't need a third quarterback. Let's just have two. And we can get an extra gunner, an extra offensive lineman, an extra defensive tackle, an extra corner, whatever. It's normally a special teams position. Here's the argument that I would make, though. First of all, I think every team, regardless of what the rule is, should carry a third quarterback. And now that you don't have to, I wouldn't. But if I didn't have to, in the playoffs, I would make that third quarterback active in every game. I believe teams should carry three quarterbacks. And I believe it for a couple of reasons. First, I think the idea of what happened to the San Francisco 49ers last year is absolutely tragic to a team that has less success. Like, San Francisco's been to the Super Bowl over the last couple of years. They've been to back-to-back NFC title games. We think San Francisco's going to be good this year. But for some of these teams, an appearance in the conference title game is a once-in-a-lifetime crack, right? Like, the Detroit Lions are expected to be kind of good this year. Well, let's say the Detroit Lions end up with a hot start with an easier schedule and things fall into place. If they get to the NFC title game, they're probably not getting back. It's probably a one-time deal. You want to go out the way San Francisco went out? I would never risk it to that. In baseball, for instance, and they've changed the postseason rules, but baseball, what it used to be was, a guy's on the roster, and if he gets hurt, you have to wait until the next round to replace him. Now, that's not the case anymore in baseball, but that's what it used to be. And because of that reason, when the Braves would always make the playoffs when I was a kid, Bobby Cox, the manager of the Braves, would carry a third catcher because he was worried of the idea that they could be in a playoff series and have both catchers get hurt, and now who's going to catch? If a shortstop gets hurt, well, it's not something you want to do, but you can take another infielder and put him at shortstop. If an outfielder gets hurt, you don't want to do it, but you can take a guy who normally plays left field or third base, and you can stick him out in right field and say, all right, man, just try to catch the ball when it gets hit to you. But you really can't do that with catcher. And so he would carry three catchers. I don't understand in an NFL playoff game why you wouldn't carry three quarterbacks. And I see these guys all the time that are on the Titans and other teams that get deactivated every freaking week. Every week, the inactives come out. And last year, the Titans had so many guys inactive that it wasn't like one guy who was out every week. But it feels like every year when we're doing the pregame show and the inactives come down, it's like, Kevin Pamphil's inactive again this week. There's always a guy like that who's on your roster, but honestly, do you really need him on your roster? And I know coaches will act like every spot on that 53-man roster is sacred. No, it's not. Just like how every scholarship on a college basketball team is not sacred either. I don't see why every team wouldn't carry a third quarterback. Now, that takes us back to Malik. I don't know if this helps Malik or not. I cannot see how it would hurt Malik Willis's chances of making the team. And I do not think that the way that it was yesterday, where the Titans would have carried two quarterbacks, and the Titans have never carried three quarterbacks under Vrabel, that it feels to me like Malik would not have made this team. We talked last week about trading Malik Willis to a team that is going to cut somebody so that you can just get out in front of it, they can get out in front of it, and you can work out a deal. You're going to cut a guy that you drafted And instead of cutting him, you trade him, and then they trade the guy that they were going to cut anyways, and you go from there. It happens all the time in the NFL. The Titans did that when they acquired Dennis Kelly. He was going to get cut, and so they checked around. Dorial Green-Beckham was on this team. He was going to get cut. They checked around the league. Would anybody want DGB? The Eagles are like, we won't give you a pick for him, but we'll give you Dennis Kelly because we're going to cut him. You said, okay, you got Dennis Kelly. There's a lot of players that have been added over the years who teams end up giving up for, they used a 3rd-round pick on a guy or they used a 2nd-round pick on a guy, and they give him up before the season for a 6th-round pick. Kamale Correa was an example of that. Yugo Amadi last year was an example of that. So Dennis Daly was an example of that. So this is not something that's new. But now that there's a 3rd quarterback rule in place, does that then give Vrabel the ability to say, well, it would be an unnecessary risk if I were to sit out there and say, well, I'm going to go through a game with Tannehill and Levis, and if they both get hurt, I could have had Malik out there, and instead I'm not. Or do you get somebody who's probably better at quarterback than Malik? And I don't know what their thought is on that. I'm not the biggest Malik Willis fan in the world. I am willing to at least pretend that there's a chance. I'm willing to say that there's a chance that when I get out there tomorrow at OTAs that Malik looks better than he did last year. But I'm not banking on it either. But I do think that this news today, it can't hurt him. It can only help him. And then the question is, do you want to try to continue to develop Malik when your number one kind of point of emphasis now is developing Will Levis? Texter says maybe the Titans should have maybe the league should have expanded to 54 on the active roster and required 3 quarterbacks. I mean, do you need an extra roster spot? You get to send guys up and down off the practice squad, and I think that's a great rule. You get to do that every week. Do you need 54 on the active roster? You can't even play with 54 in a game. And I don't think the owners would be cool with a 54th spot because that means they'd have to pay an extra guy. So I don't foresee that happening. But I do think that the 3rd quarterback, and see, this is where it's going to get crazy, is training camp time. Because now guys are going to be jockeying to be 3rd quarterbacks and get full-time jobs. If it were me, and I was just thinking 3rd quarterback, all of my energy with Tannehill is on winning. All of my energy with Levis is development. I think I'd rather have a Logan Woodside in that spot than Malik. But again, it can't hurt Malik that it's this way. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phone. 615-737-1025. If you want to get in here on the program, we will get to you. 615-737-1025. A little surprised by some of the stuff that people are saying or doing when it comes to the Titans. Hey, by the way, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day, and our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Join 1025 The Game for the 2nd annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have a chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
We are your home for every big pass.
Chase Elliott will pick up the stage 1 win.
Big wreck.
Joey Logano gets turned. He's hard into the inside wall.
And big win.
Kyle Busch has won here at the Talladega Superspeedway.
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get a great deal on one of the most versatile tractors in the industry, the Kubota L, which is part of Kubota's tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Stop by Krebs Kubota today to bring home select L Series equipment for $0 down. 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800. Now through June 30th, see Krebs Kubota or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer. Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Online at KrebsKubota.com.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
Titans have actually made a move, finalizing a one-year deal.
Strong-willed opinions.
No, I disagree. No, I totally disagree with that.
And sometimes, some old man takes...
Don't want those cooked carrots that are 5 days old.
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Is it easy for you to block out the noise?
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I block it out. You can't not see the stuff that people say, but you got to take it for what it is, which is meaningless. You focus on what matters, you focus on what you can control, and you kind of just say screw it to everything else. So, just focus on myself, focus on my craft, focus on the people in this building. And just working.
There you go. That was Will Levis at rookie minicamp. Tomorrow, OTAs. Levis will be out there on the field. Today, OTAs. Levis out there on the field. We'll see that. I told you guys I went to a wedding on Saturday, and anybody wants to talk about Levis. Let's go to your phones. Dan is up next here on the Titans. Thank you for calling. What's up, Dan?
Hey, man. What's up? Let's see. I think the Titans' basement on wins is 6, and their ceiling on wins is 10. So most likely is 7, 8, or 9, and that puts you in kind of that anonymous middle of the pack of the NFL.
Well, you said, 10 puts you in the playoffs, 9 put Miami in the playoffs last year, and I have to be honest, the thing, and what brings you to that assessment, just right off the bat, that you think that they're, at best a 10-win team?
I just think that's how good they are. That's where they are now. Look at the rest of the AFC. Look at the top 2 in the AFC East.
But you don't play those teams.
Miami. What now?
But you're not playing Buffalo. You're not playing Kansas City. You're not playing those teams. You know what I mean?
I realize that, but there's only so many spots in the AFC to get in. So I don't think the Titans are better than Miami or the Jets. I don't think they're better than the Ravens or the Bengals. I don't think they're better than the Chiefs or the Chargers. So that puts them down there with teams like Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I do think we'll be battling with the Jaguars for 1 or 2 in the AFC South. But I think the Titans, if they do make the playoffs, are a one-and-done playoff team, which is what they have been.
So I'm not going to disagree with you about that, but there's a couple of things here. I have a lot of thoughts on that because I think a lot of people – good call, though, Dan. I think a lot of people think the way that he was just talking, and I don't think that actually mirrors what reality is in the NFL. First off, seasons snowball. So if you're good and you get towards December and you're playing well – chances are you're going to play some bad teams that have already packed it in and are thinking about their trips to Cancun. And so games that we look at today and say, well, that might be a hard game, it might not matter for that team at that point. And so you could say, well, they're a 9-win team on paper, but then that team stunk and that team stunk, so go ahead and give them those wins. The second thing, and I think the thing that I feel more strongly about, is I don't disagree that Miami is a better team today than the Tennessee Titans. Now, I'm not a huge Tua guy. I don't feel like, Tua ascended last year outside of the injuries. I think Tua is average, and I think he's average with the injuries. I wouldn't be committed to Tua if I were them the way that they say they're committed to Tua, but that's a different story for a different day. But I do think the Dolphins have better players, and I do think the Jets have better players. But guess what? When you're playing Indianapolis, they're playing each other. So it's easy to say, well, the Jets are better, the Dolphins are better, the Bills are better, but they all have to play each other. And you're playing Houston and Indy. That's the difference to me. Miami might have a better ball club than you, and Miami might beat you on Monday Night Football in December. They might do all of those things, but they also have to play the Jets, the Bills. They have to play the AFC East, which means Dallas and Philly. I mean, here's the schedule for the Jets, for instance. And again, I think the Jets have a better ball club than the Titans. If they were to play today on a neutral field, setting the line, and again, I think the Titans just going game by game. I think the Titans are going to win 11 games this year. I would say Jets -4. What do you think, Ian? Jets -4 neutral field? Fair?
Against the Titans?
Yeah.
It'll be more with Rodgers. On a neutral field.
4.5?
5.5, yeah.
Okay. So, I would say I think the Jets should be favored. Here's their schedule. Buffalo. At Dallas. New England, who might not be great, I don't know. Kansas City. At Denver, Philadelphia. The Giants, who made the playoffs. The Chargers. The Raiders, At Buffalo. Miami. Atlanta. Houston. Miami. Washington. Cleveland. The Patriots. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're playing the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts, and you're playing the Atlanta Falcons. You're playing all these Scarbinis out there that have, questionable quarterback situations, questionable teams. Are they rebuilding? Are they not rebuilding? The Jets have to play every team in their division that's trying to win right now. Josh says, if you look at some of the power rankings and record predictions out there, they think the Titans are in a full rebuild mode. Even one said they should tank for Caleb Williams. What do you think of that, Jared? Well, I think it's been well documented across the people who cover the team here that Mike Vrabel is never going to be a tank coach. I don't think tanking exists in the NFL for the most part, because even when you do tank, and Miami tanked in 2019, you're still probably not going to be bad enough to get what you want. So you're better off trying to roll the dice like the Philadelphia Eagles did last year, and all of a sudden getting into the middle of the season and say, holy crap, we're good. Like, who saw this coming? And there's no way to know. The St. Louis Rams did not know that when Trent Green got hurt and Kurt Warner went in there that they'd end up winning a Super Bowl, but that's exactly what happened. And there's no way to know. For instance, that the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be competing for the Super Bowl in 2021. So I don't think the Titans will ever be the kind of team that says, okay, let's tank, let's see where we get. But even if you do, I think it's a futile exercise. The teams that end up tanking almost always fire their coach and general manager. The teams that end up picking number one consistently. And if the Chicago guys didn't just get there, they'd have been fired too. So I don't see Mike Vrabel and I don't see the Titans being interested in tanking. Nor do I think the Titans need to tank, because I don't think their team is that bad. But apparently I'm the only person across the country who thinks that. Texture says, I've never understood why you can't dress all 53 players. It's a 53-man roster, but you can only dress 48. I think you can only dress 46. I don't know the rules either. Like, I don't know why it's like, well, you got to sit these other guys out. I mean, you don't have to do that in baseball. I don't see why you can't play 53 guys. But that's a discussion for the competition committee. Bring that up with Vrabel, because he's on it, and I'm not, and this is going to sound kind of crazy. Like, I've wondered that over the years, why you can, why this is you can have a third quarterback, but you can only, I've never really understood that, but I've also never cared enough to actually investigate why that is, or ask somebody who would for sure know why that is. Texter into the text line says, what do you think about Malik as a third quarterback who's active on game days to give the Titans a special offensive package that would involve Levis, Tannehill, and Willis? Well, who are you going to throw the ball to then? You only get 5 eligible receivers on a play. I guess 6 if you count the quarterback. Who are you going to throw the ball to? So you're going to have these 3 quarterbacks in there, and it's going to be like 3-card Monty, right? Like you're, it's going to be this 3-card Monty of who's got the football or who's going to be the guy who throws the football, but you can only have 2 guys that can catch it. That doesn't sound to me like a great plan. But what do I know? I thought the Wildcat was stupid when they started doing that too, and it worked for a little bit of time. 615-737-1025. Texter into the text line says that the Titans need to focus on trying to figure out the wide receiver position. Until then, all of the low power rankings are very valid and should be fair. Where were the Titans last year in the power rankings? Where did the Titans finish? They finished 19th in the NFL, right? Because they picked 11th. That math is correct, right?
Power rankings, is that?
Well, I'm just talking about where they finished in the hierarchy of the league.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean,
32 minus 11 is 21.
So they finished 21st? That's not right. 21st would be picking 9th. So it's 19th.
Okay.
So they finished 19th in the league last year. The receivers sucked last season. This is what I say when people complain about the wide receivers and the offensive line. Every time I hear that, I think to myself, but did you watch last year? Like, I know that I don't love Andre Dillard at left tackle either, but it's definitely better than Dennis Daly. And Peter Skoronski is definitely better than Aaron Brewer. And at wide receiver, Treylon Burks played 11 games. And if Treylon Burks goes out there and plays 11 games this year, you're screwed. That's why. Indy Ben says, in response to your opening segment of the show, the reason why so many national analysts are down on the Titans is because of their talent deficiency combined with the rest of the division getting better. Oh, please. The FPI, which is what we were talking about, the ESPN analytics, rankings, they've got the Colts and the Texans behind the Titans, Indy Ben. This isn't about the division getting better. It's about the fact that everybody thinks Tannehill sucks. That's what this bogs down to. I like Tannehill. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Tannehill. I think Tannehill's had a good career. I was actually talking to Caroline about this yesterday. And I was like, if you told me, and this is in response to all the Trevor Lawrence stuff, because they talk about Trevor Lawrence like he's going to be the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. And I think a lot of people think that he may be on the ascent and that he may join the big boy discussion. I'm not ruling that out. But I'm also not ruling out the idea that Trevor Lawrence could end up having a similar career to Ryan Tannehill, where he's a 10-year, 12-year starter, makes a couple of Pro Bowls, wins a couple of playoff games, never is good enough to get over the hump, never justifies all the hype that surrounded him since he beat Alabama in that championship game in 2018. That's how I feel about it. Like, it would not surprise me if that's what happens. So don't give me that Indy bin. Don't give me the rest of the division's getting better. The rest of the division stinks. Even Jacksonville's not that good. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Some of the experts have ranked a decision that the Titans have made as the best in the NFL. But maybe not for the guy who made it. We'll get to that next here on the program. Our deal of the week this week, it's the best. Nashville's best deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals for a buy one, get one free admission for just $44.99. Beach Bend Park is your ticket to summer fun. Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park, just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robbie and Rex Road, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
I can't wait for what's next, even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation and irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Some more playoff action on our airwaves in both the NHL and NBA lined up on this Monday night. On the hardwood, the Denver Nuggets are looking to bust out the brooms as they are one win away from sweeping the Lakers. ESPN radio coverage of Game 4 begins at 7 on 94.9 The Fan. And on the ice, it's the Florida Panthers looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Final as they return home to host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6:30 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The NFL owners have approved a proposal today that will allow teams to designate one emergency quarterback from its 53-man roster. The rule will allow a quarterback to be activated during a game if the team's first two quarterbacks are unavailable to play. And the Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL affiliate of the Nashville Predators, beat Texas in their series last night to advance to the Western Conference Final. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safarov, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So, one of my favorite things to do is to geek out on the NFL draft, but not necessarily the upcoming NFL draft. Like, you could stick in front of me a mock draft for the 2024, and it's like, we'll worry about that later. We'll watch the college games this year, and then we'll decide on who's good and who's not. But I like looking back at drafts. I like looking at decisions that general managers made. I like looking at trades that teams made. I like seeing things where they passed on this guy for that guy, but why? You know, what was all of that? I always enjoy that. And Mark Dominic, former NFL general manager, who's now on SiriusXM NFL Radio. Mark Dominic, good man, by the way, and a Preds fan. Mark Dominic grades drafts not about what just happened. You know, Mel Kiper Jr. gives them an A. But he goes back and he grades drafts. And so he graded the 2019 draft. Now that the 4-year window for those players is officially over, he went back and graded the 2019 draft. And apparently in his grades for all these teams, they call it Mark's math. It's a math kind of equation and formula that he comes up with, whatever. One team got an A+. Who was that? This is what Mark Dominic said.
Yeah, it's funny because I look at this and, I don't know why I didn't give him an A.
What?
I'm just
what?
I gave him an A. I gave him an A+.
Oh, you really threw me off
there.
on that one. A+.
This is outstanding. I mean, this is again, multi-year deals for everybody except DeAndre Walker. And DeAndre Walker clearly didn't work. He never even played a game, so it was like a what? But, everybody got a multi-year deal. 2 guys with over 40 guaranteed. And your point was very strong. Neither of them are quarterbacks. Then you go, your next 2 picks both get over $17 million guaranteed. There's not a lot to have to say about this draft class other than, wow. So strong, and sad. I think the biggest piece of this draft class probably is the A.J. Brown part, because I think that's what might have been the straw that broke the camel's back for John Robinson as the former GM who drafted this draft class with, obviously, Coach. So, this is fantastic. You've got 4 starters in your first 4 picks. Yeah, 2 of them are still with your football team. And again, even your 6th rounder got a multi-year deal with half of it's guaranteed. That's an A+. This is as good as class as I've seen by far that we've graded in the 2019 draft class.
A+ for John Robinson. Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown, Nate Davis, Amani Hooker, David Long Jr. A+. What happened? And that was something I could not figure out. Now, that 2019 class is part of the reason why I didn't think John Robinson should have lost his job. I also don't think John Robinson should have lost his job because the Titans won a lot of football games with John Robinson as the general manager. But there is no denying that the 2020 draft, on the heels of that incredible 19 draft, was an unmitigated disaster. With Isaiah Wilson, always injured Christian Fulton, Darrington Evans, it was a terrible draft. 2021, Farley and Radence. It was a terrible draft. So what happened to the Titans scouting staff, player personnel staff, even Robinson himself? What happened? What was the difference between 2019, where they hit it out of the freaking park, and the other 2 after that were horrible? By the way, last year's draft, and it's still, it's too early to grade last year's draft. Last year's draft was not a horrible draft for the Titans. Now, some of this is being optimistic, but Burks looks like he's pretty good. McCreary played a bunch last year. Petit Ferrer started in the NFL. I'm not the biggest Petit Ferrer fan in the world, but if he makes a big jump into year 2, he's probably a 4-year starter at right tackle. Chigakonkwo's your starting tight end. I mean, last year's draft was not a bad draft. But what happened? And I even tried to figure that out when I heard that Mark Dominic gave him an A+ for that draft, which I have always held in high regard. I put that draft in his first draft, where he went Jack Conklin, all-pro in the first round, Derrick Henry, all-pro in the second round, and Kevin Byard, all-pro in the third round. I hold those as, unbelievable draft classes. And yet, right after that, it's Corey Davis at 5 overall. And I asked John before his last draft as general manager of the Titans, I asked him, now that it's not a COVID draft, is there any difference? And I asked him kind of in 2 separate ways, because I'm trying to ask the question, what happened in 2019 that didn't happen in 20 or 21? And John kind of, I don't know if it's that he didn't have the answer or he didn't want to give the answer, but this was what John said. do you feel now that it's essentially not a COVID draft? Your last not COVID draft was 2019, which was probably your best draft as a general manager. Is there a
Thanks, Jared.
Is there a sense that going back to a normal structure will go back to the results of the non-COVID drafts?
If you're telling me that, absolutely, it's going to. I mean, you don't know. Like, you don't know who the players are going to be there. You try to strategize and get yourself in position to get the guys that you want. All those guys in that class have played, really good football for us. I mean, if you can tell me right now that we're going to have another one like that year, sign me up for it.
Okay, so like a very generic, I don't know what it's going to be. I know so then I followed up on it again about the 19 draft class, because the 19 draft class, again, according to Mark Dominic, A+. Was there something about the 2019 class that was special, or was it?
You're on fire for 19, Jared. I love it. Keep going. Keep going, man.
Is there something when you look back to that class and you say, we did this and are trying to find that in this class?
Took the right guys. We took the right guys. The process is pretty similar with how, or I would say it's very similar with how we did it. We took the right guys.
I just don't. There's no way that process could have been the same. There's no way that the process in 2019 that equaled Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown, Nate Davis, Amani Hooker, and David Long, there is no way that process was the same in 2021 that was Caleb Farley, Dylan Radins, Monty Rice, Elijah Molden, Racy McMath. There's no way. I do not, and that's the thing that I cannot understand. And that's the hard part about assessing John Robinson as a general manager was, on one hand, they won a lot when he was the general manager. On the other hand, they didn't get over the hump. They couldn't beat Kansas City. They couldn't beat Cincinnati. They couldn't really find a franchise-defining quarterback. Fine. But they won a lot. Good. They couldn't win the big one. Bad. That 2019 class, A+. 2016 class, A+. Very good. Very good. A.J. Brown trade, very bad. So it's like with Robinson, I felt like I could argue either side of the table here. But it should be noted that until we get to the, I am such a cause and effect guy, that I care about the causes more than I care about the symptoms, that I still want to know what happened that was different in 19 than it was in 20, 21, and maybe 22, who knows? Was there somebody who wasn't there anymore? Did they just get lucky in 19? And I feel like I'm banging my head trying to figure out what exactly that was. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your phones. 615-737-1025. Plus, the one other thing I will say about John Robinson, and I don't know how Titan fans feel about this, and looking back on the John Robinson A+ that he got from a couple years ago. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Be sure to tune in to Sounds Baseball. That's right. Love the sounds around here. Be sure to tune in to Sounds Baseball tomorrow at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Iowa Cubs. The AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Are the Sounds at home?
They are at home, yeah.
Okay, so those games will be at home at First Horizon Park. Get excited for it. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, our savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1 while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And I, too, gave out my first A+.
Yay!
I mean, it's hard. You know, listen, they missed on DeAndre Walker. Okay, he doesn't play a game in the National Football League. He was drafted 168. Really? You're going to ding him for that? It's almost impossible. Simmons is a huge difference maker. He's a franchise player in the middle of that defensive line. If A.J. Brown was still there, and you're right, it's amazing you can have this draft, be the general manager, and be out of work. But he's out of work because of the reaction you got from the head coach in the draft room when they traded A.J. Brown, who's paid like one of the top, and he should be, wide receivers in the league, the 4 years, $100 million. Then you get a starting lineman that's pursued by another team and a safety that's Mark, I mean, every single deal is a multi-year deal. I mean, you've done your job, and yet the guy that put together this draft class is out of the league. Pretty amazing when you consider that. This is from top to bottom. 3 in the top 100. 3 of them out, between 100 and 200. They hit on every single one of them but one mark. It's impossible not to give them an A+.
A+ for John Robinson's 2019 NFL Draft. And I know 2019 was a long time ago. 2020 stunk. 2021 stunk. I know. And I know that sitting here and telling you that I wouldn't have fired John Robinson, you all already know that. There is one thing, though. And I don't think that I have a gigantic platform. I do think that when I say things that, it gets around pretty quickly. I hope John Robinson gets another shot. I don't think general managers often do get second shots anymore. Mark Dominic right there, he got one shot. Tampa Bay didn't work out. He's been out of the league for a decade. Rick Spielman, 10 years with the Vikings, out of the league. It's almost like you get one chance as a GM, and when it's gone, it's gone. In fact, off the top of my head, Trent Baalke, the general manager in Jacksonville, might be the only guy who is the GM of a team for the second time right now in the NFL. Which, by the way, is that not crazy? I mean, I guess if you want to count Belichick, you can because he ran the Cleveland Browns and now he's running the Patriots, but we know that Belichick's the coach. I hope Robinson gets a second chance. I think Robinson was a good general manager. I think Robinson is a lot better than a lot of the general managers out there, and I think that he, probably is going to learn from some of his mistakes that he made here. I hope he gets a second chance. I don't think he will get a second chance because I just don't think the league gives out a bunch of second chances. But I do think Robinson was a good general manager. And I do hope he gets a second chance. And I hope that people around here don't forget about the good that he did as the GM. Like, if I were the Titans, and I'm not saying do this now, I probably would consider putting John Robinson in the team's Ring of Honor. And the reason I would do that is because they've had 2 eras of consistently competitive football. The first era was the 5-year window with Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese that started in 99 and it ended in 2003. And the second era is this era that began, you can say, around 2017-ish, 2019-ish, and is probably ended last year. That's it. And the first 2 guys of the first era are in your Ring of Honor. So again, I'm not saying put J-Rob in there right now. I'm sure there's still some bad blood. And it'd also be crazy to fire a guy, induct him into your team's Hall of Fame and still be paying him. But I do hope that we remember that. And so I think he did a good job. I hope he gets a second chance. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam has been waiting patiently, as always. Adam, go ahead.
Hey, man. So I agree with you on J-Rob. We watched a lot of bad football before we got him. And
did not win a game after him.
How often did we hear about the team about to be getting sold, and we didn't hear about that crap anymore after J-Rob got in there. Not to say he was the reason for that, but he's probably a big reason for it. We were a much better football team. Not why I called you, but what I'm hearing. All right, I heard you say it, and it triggered me, Jared. You were like, I think the Jaguars kind of suck. I think the Jaguars kind of suck too, and I think it's okay. I think they're the best in our division right now. But they're not. That doesn't say anything to me. I don't think our division is good. And I think, honestly, you could talk about our wide receivers could be better. I think if everybody would just stay healthy. I don't know of any other team in league history over a 2-year span that's ever been as unhealthy as we were. If I'm thinking about it, I don't think that's ever happened before, right? We were as bad as you could be as far as keeping people on the field. So we may actually have a roster to be able to compete in the AFC if we could just keep them healthy. That's where I'm at with this thing.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different points in there, and I don't think that's a bad call, Adam. And, sometimes if Adam has a bad call, Adam knows he's getting told about it. I think my thing with this is no team that wins, even the team that wins the Super Bowl, doesn't have some sort of deficiency or some kind of depth issue. And there are teams all the time that have solid rosters that don't win. If we were just to take the rosters and say who's better, Philadelphia or Kansas City, the answer is Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a better offensive line. Philadelphia and Kansas City, I would say, are probably tied at defensive line. Philadelphia has better wide receivers. Philadelphia has better running backs. Philadelphia has a better secondary. Probably tied at linebacker because I really, really like Nick Bolton for Kansas City. Probably tied at linebacker. But Kansas City has quarterback. And if you got the quarterback, totally different. When it comes to the Titans, we talk about competing in the AFC or competing in the AFC South or Jacksonville or any of this kind of stuff. And I argue that they did that last year with that team that did not have wide receivers. It's driving me crazy too. And I will be watching the wide receivers tomorrow at OTAs. And I will be on you about how I want the Titans to acquire Kendrick Bourne from the Patriots to be wide receiver 2, even though I don't think Kendrick Bourne's that good, but I think he's better than anything that you have outside of Burks. And that's what you need a guy there, just like you needed Josh Reynolds to be there before you traded for Julio Jones. But that doesn't mean that you can't win games throwing the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine, because you won games throwing the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine. You were 7-3 when Danico Autry got hurt at Green Bay. And it was different with a hurt Simmons and no Danico out there. It was different. And if the Titans could freaking kick, that would make a difference in the Giants game last year. It would make a difference in the Charger game last year if you could just kick the ball. If you could stop somebody on a kickoff return, it would have made a huge difference against the Jacksonville Jags the last week of the year. If you didn't hit a snapper in the neck or miss a 35-yard field goal before halftime, it would have helped in that Bengals game last year. And that has nothing to do with your lack of wide receivers. So that's what bothers me when everybody talks about the lack of wide receivers and how the Titans are going to be so bad. They had the same lack of wide receivers last year. Their offensive line, which I'm still not in love with, is going to be better this year than it was last year. By the way, I read a story on Mekhi Becton, the former top pick of the Jets, who I think was taken 6th overall, 7th overall, something like that in 2020. And Mekhi Becton, he had a reputation when he was in college at Louisville. He had a reputation of being kind of lazy. And after the first year, he had a good rookie season, and then he got hurt, and he got hurt again, and then he was like 420 pounds or something. And so he spent all offseason getting in shape. He got his 5th-year option declined. This is his chance to show he can do it. And it was an article in one of the New York papers. And so they were talking about Becton. And it was talking about the excitement Becton has this season and to go out there and play left tackle and everything else. And it was like he's hopeful that new offensive line coach Keith Carter can help him. Oh, boy. That's not good for old Mekhi Becton over there from Louisville. That's not what we're wanting to hear. Keith Carter. We're banking on Keith Carter. Freaking bozo. Texter says John Robinson was a riverboat gambler that got lucky early on, but the house always wins. He did not study tape, and Malik Willis is proof. His college tape is underwhelming at best. Even his reel is lame. Let me say this about the Robinson thing, about the tape and whatever else. Like, Robinson absolutely studied tape. I do believe that John Robinson put all the work in there. I think he got risky. And I don't think it was the 19 draft that made him risky. I think it was more of an arrogant thing. He got risky. He took the risk on Julio Jones. He took the risk on Treylon Burks. He took the risks a lot of times. The risk of no right tackle in 2021. It worked. Then when he tried the same thing in 2022, it backfired. And I've always brought up that story of one of the first times that I ever worked with Floyd. We were here at the office, and I didn't really know him that well, and so I was just kind of trying to make a little small talk, and I was like, well, Floyd, are the Titans going to be any good this year? And he looked at me square in the eye, and he said, we don't have a right tackle. And I thought, right tackle. It's a pretty big deal, huh? Floyd goes, right tackle? Yes. And for the last 2 years, they haven't had a right tackle. And, PT, I don't know if he's a right tackle or not. They're probably going to give him a shot to start over there. If not, I could see Dillard moved and Skoronski. But for 2 years, they didn't have a right tackle. They got risky with that. The arrogance of putting Aaron Brewer at 270 whatever pounds out there. I mean, he got risky. Chuck says, if its and buts were candy and nuts. Right. My point is the Titans didn't lose to Jacksonville the last week of the year because they didn't have wide receivers. They lost to Jacksonville the last week of the year because the quarterback fumbled the ball at the end of the game, which was incredibly questionable. They lost because they allowed Jamal Agnew to have an incredible punt return. The Titans lost to the Giants not because they didn't have enough wide receivers. They lost because Minileg went out there and missed a 47-yard kick. That's my point. When you say the Titans are no good because they don't have receivers, my point is they didn't have receivers last year and they still competed. And it wasn't the lack of receivers that cost them every single one of those games. Now, do I think they could have won the Super Bowl with those receivers? Hell no. But the point I'm making is not to excuse the games the Titans lost, but to point out how many of them were not simply because they don't have the receivers. All of those games I just brought up, they had a chance to win with Dennis Daly. And now it should be better than Dennis Daly. It's not great, but it should be better than Dennis Daly. And they still had a chance to win all those games last year. That's my point, Chuck. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Boy, a lot of people were mad at me. A lot of people were mad at me when it comes to the Milwaukee Admirals and their success. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in sports betting, and right now you can use the promo code THEGAME to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with promo code THEGAME. Simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions or download the Superbook Tennessee app in the App Store. Enter the promo code THEGAME and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East entrance. 5 museums in one, including the fantastic Whitney Western Art Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The puck in the near corner as Angelo ties it up. Stasny, Wilsby, all there. 3 seconds to go. Puck to the far corner. 1 second for the first time since May 9th, 2006, as Camano gave a cheap shot on Tomasino at the end. For the first time since May 9th, 2006, the Milwaukee Admirals have won a second-round series and will advance to the conference finals.
Woo! Yeah! Woo! Let's go, baby! Admirals. Boy, a lot of people got mad at me last week. I don't know if you saw that, Ian, or not.
I noticed, yeah.
By the way, let me just state for the record, I knew this too. I was off on Friday, and I was like, people are going to think that I got fired over this. I did not get fired. I did not get suspended. That was a planned day off, everybody. So on Thursday of last week, I said that I don't care. Honestly, it was Joe's comments that got me fired up about, the people that are, so all in on this Admirals run and so on and so forth. And let me just say this. You can do whatever you like. This is a free country, and everybody is entitled to do whatever it is that they like. But I just said, look, man, it's, minor league hockey. I honestly think that my comments on Thursday have energized the fandom behind the Milwaukee Admirals way bigger than it would have ever been without those comments. I mean, I couldn't avoid it. It's like people got mad on Twitter. Everybody gets mad on Twitter at me. This is nothing new. Then I go on Robbie and Joe Friday morning. That's all they want to talk about. I'm leaving the gym on Saturday. Junie and Nick are doing the show. That's what they're talking about. I wake up this morning and Adam and Joe are talking about it. So, I mean, hey, I think now there's a lot more talk about should you feel away, should you not feel away. And again, you can feel however you want to feel about it. Let me say this. I believe that there's kind of a narrative that has sprung from the die-hard Predator base, right? Like if the Predators were a political party, the base. The people that would be there through thick and thin that are not the bandwagoners that jumped on in 2017. And yes, I know there were a bunch of bandwagoners that jumped on in 2017. I was there. I saw it. I know. And I know that the bandwagoners have probably, for the most part, some of them became diehards and a part of the base, but for the most part, I think some of the bandwagoners have probably resided back to their shanties or whatever it is that they do, whatever it may be. I that's fine. But the one thing, this narrative that has come out that I think a lot of people want to believe, I am going to tell you that I don't believe this. And that is that the Milwaukee Admirals' success somehow foreshadows the future Predators' success. And I just don't think that's the case. I have no idea what happened to Derek Jeter in the minor leagues. Some of these guys probably won AAA championships. Most of them probably didn't. The thing is, though, is that for a lot of these guys, if you're really, really good, you get sent up to the big leagues and you ain't coming back. I actually looked it up and I was like, okay, how many guys on the Milwaukee Admirals were big-time players in the 17 Cup run? So I have in front of me the 16 Calder Cup playoffs. The 15 season, the team didn't even make the Calder Cup playoffs. So the 16 season Milwaukee Admirals, here's in front of me. Max Gortz, never heard of him. Adam Payarel, Matt White, Felix Girard, who I believe was traded for Cody McLeod. So that tells you, his value. Jamie Devane, Zach LaRaza, Anthony Richard, Yakov Trenin, who is not a bad player, but was not a part of the 17 run. Kevin Fiala, that's one for 4 games or whatever it is that Fiala was part of that run. Joe Pendeza, Max Reinhart, Pontus Aberg, Freddie Gaudreau, and Vladislav Kamenev, who did not play in the 2017 finals. Defensively, nobody saw a second of ice time in the 2017 Cup run. Nobody saw it in the 2018 Cup run. Nobody. The only guy that played defense for that team that has ever sniffed the ice is Alexander Carrier, and he's not even really all that good to begin with. So, your 2017 Predators that went to the Cup final, that won the President's Trophy, that was about Rene and Yossi and Mike Fisher leading the team and all of that. That had nothing to do with the Milwaukee Admirals. Like the 16 Calder Cup playoff team had Pontus Aberg, who had a big goal on the run, Freddie Gaudreau, who had a couple of big goals there, and Fiala, who had a big goal against Chicago. But those were role players. Those weren't the guys that propelled you to the President's Trophy the next year. And I think there's like some narrative out there that people want to believe that, well, even though our team wasn't good this year, which I think we can all agree with, that because our team wasn't good this year, the fact that our minor league team is really good, that is a positive sign for the future of the organization, and that's why people are behind it. And that's fine if you believe it. I just don't think it's not. I just don't think it's true. I actually did some study on the Milwaukee Admirals. They won the Calder Cup in 2004. By the way, I was in high school when that happened, and I have no recollection of it. I was also in high school the other time, the 2006 that we just heard in that play-by-play cut. I was in high school then. And I look at the roster of that team. Those guys aren't winning big games for the Predators. It's a couple of guys that end up becoming NHL players and a bunch of Scarbinis that you call up to fill in on the fourth line.
And in the AHL, you do have some older guys.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys who are 25, 26,
AAA baseball.
30 that have been career minor league AAA players. I think Darren Haydar was one of them on the 2004 roster that you mentioned. That, you know, there's just those guys who have put up great AHL numbers but don't really ever make it to the NHL.
Daniel Carr.
He's one. Yeah.
Oh, boy, David Poyle. He was AHL Player of the Year. I know. So I go back to this, like, you know, do I expect, like, so apparently Joakim Kimmel scored again the other night.
Mm-hmm. He's been scoring a bunch.
I mean, like, good. Like, I care about him because if the ship is going to get righted, it's going to be because of people like him. I care about the goalie because they drafted him 11th overall, and if he pans out, then they've got a massive franchise question on their hands, which is, which goalie do you go with? But the narrative that I think some people want to believe that is, you know, we're behind our minor league team because those guys will be a part of why our major league team will be good. I just don't think there's any proof that that's how this works. And then I think people got mad at me for, how should I say this? I think people got mad at me for maybe telling you that it wasn't the case. And so, look, I've angered a lot of people over the years. I don't think that many people were really all that worked up as it got on Twitter because goodness gracious, were people mad. Woo-wee, people were mad. They were so mad at me about this. My favorite tweet one guy sent in was like, Jared Stillman is not knowledgeable, he's not interesting, and he's not provocative. And I thought, like, I don't do this, and I'm sure a lot of you don't believe that. I do not do this to be provocative. I don't wake up in the morning and say, how can I stir the pot today? Which I'm sure a lot of people believe. Like, I did not wake up thinking that on Thursday morning that I was going to talk about the Milwaukee Admirals, and everybody over the weekend was going to lose it so much that a bunch of people started tweeting me last night when the Admirals won their game. But you never know what happens when you put your socks on in the morning. But I say this because, like, I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just kind of trying to keep it real around here. That's kind of always what I've been. It's the number one thing I like about my job, the autonomy to be able to say what I truly feel. And this show, these sports takes, these are how I truly feel. And man, were people mad. But to say that I'm not provocative, I mean, you did send out a tweet about that, right? I don't want an award for being provocative. I just, you know, if you're going to put me down, don't say that I'm not provocative when you were provoked to send out a tweet because of something that I said that you got mad at. And so, boy, people were mad at me. The Preds sent out a tweet on Friday night, inviting me to their watch party. I'm thinking I should go. If they're really going to buy the first round, they said on Twitter, first round was on them. Do we think the Predators are telling the truth? First round's on them if I go to the AHL Admirals watch party?
I don't think they'd lie about that.
I mean, if it does not conflict with my schedule of watching Star Trek, then I may be able to make it.
Sounds busy.
Very busy schedule this time of year. No football, no Predators hockey. Basketball's pretty much, I mean, like we know they're going to have to play another game in each of these series, but we know who's going to the finals in basketball. I might have to take the Preds up on it. But, like, I'm not going to, I mean, this idea that because the Admirals win, that you should get all warm and fuzzy about the future of the Predators, that doesn't go hand in hand. I also was thinking about this yesterday, and I'm not trying to play anybody down, but they went to this Game 5 with the Dallas Stars AHL affiliate, right?
Yes, they did.
How many players are worth a darn on that Dallas Stars affiliate team when they're still playing? So everybody who's any good is playing with the NHL team, and anybody who could possibly be used in case a guy catches a skate blade to the neck or the thigh or the hip or the shoulder or the Achilles or whatever has to go out, and they have to bring somebody in. I mean, you're talking about they're going to have their entire team plus their black aces, as they're called. They're going to have all of those guys there with Dallas. So if you didn't win that would have been bad, right? That's if we are equating minor league success with major league success, which I don't. But that's just, just thought I had. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. If you want to weigh in on this, because I was off on Friday and people were asking Caroline. Caroline told me yesterday that the text line was blowing up with, did Jared get fired? So get your thoughts in on that, 615-737-1025. Adam Vingan said something this morning that we've got to figure out. We've got to get to the bottom of, which we will do next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls.
Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course.
You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me.
It's going to be awesome. And for a great cause, you'll have a chance to win great prizes.
Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan, consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls. Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me. It's going to be awesome and for a great cause, and you'll have a great chance to win great prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
This number makes more sense.
It does not make more sense.
It's absolutely.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
Yay, we win. We don't. We lose. No, I disagree.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
If you're good enough, you're good enough. It's absurd.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Kicked away by Murray on the follow. Right point, Del Geiso with a minute to go. They score! Joachim Kemmel with the deflection in front of the net with 58.5 to go in the first period. Del Geiso tossed it to the cage, and Kemmel tips it between the legs of Murray at 19:01. His second of the game. Milwaukee leads 4-0.
There you go. That was the call on, I believe it was on 94.9 last night, the Admirals.
That is correct.
Kimmel scored again. So Adam Vingan said something this morning, and all I did was hear what Adam said. Now, this happens oftentimes where somebody will hear something that I said and then will say, Jared Stillman said, and then it's like, hold on, did you actually hear what Jared Stillman said? You know, don't get too worked up. Don't get too bent out of shape. You know, let's say actually what was said. And I say all of this because he said that the Admirals broadcast was like, you know, like directed at me, that like they would score and that, you know, or something. And it was like, oh yeah, the radio guy was maybe a little over the top talking about it. I have no idea. I mean, so in all seriousness, I don't care. I mean, you should be able to feel about me however you want to feel about me. And I'm a big boy. I can dish it out and I can take it. But I went back, I listened to some of the play-by-play cuts. I don't hear anything about me in some of these. Go ahead and pick a random play-by-play from last night that we have cut up and tell me if you think this has anything to do with me.
Tipped away from him. Jankowski to the left point. Del Geiso scored! Mark Del Geiso with a lot of bodies in front of the net. Beats Murray high to the stick side over his right shoulder at 11:29. Mark Del Geiso's third of the playoffs, and the Admirals have a 2-0 lead. Big Isaac Radcliffe in front of the goal.
I mean, I didn't hear anything like that. I mean, I didn't. What's he talking about?
I don't know. I'll be honest. It's the first I've heard of it.
Do we have another play-by-play cut?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's see if this one, you know, if it's like, you know, and for the people in Nashville who do care about, you know, like, is it something like that? Go ahead, play the cut.
Right hash marks Evangelista, now right point Sherwood. Sherwood, left circle, one-timer. Kemmel scores! Joachim Kemmel with a cannon! Power play goal at 11:57 of the first period. Kemmel's fourth of the playoffs, his third on the power play. The Admirals lead 3-0.
Sounded pretty normal, regular call to me.
I didn't hear anything. What is Adam Vingan talking about? I mean, look, I'm all for the Milwaukee Admirals making their radio broadcast about me. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but I do enjoy the attention. But I don't, what is he talking about?
I'll have to listen through. Maybe I can report back later in the show.
Adam said, he just texted me, I don't remember saying anything about that. I have no idea what you're talking about. I heard it this morning. I was sitting there making my PhD approved pancakes this morning, which I will be talking to you all more about later in the future, which I love. And I was making my pancakes this morning, and I was listening to Adam Vingan, and he said that during the 8:30 segment today. We may have to launch an investigation into that. We'll get to some of your phones. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. So some people are still mad in the text line. And I'll just give you some examples. Texter says, nice commentary on the flagship station of the Predators. Winning is a learning curve. Some of us are hockey fans, and none of us base our fandom of the Predators on your moronic rants. Did I ever say that people did? did I ever say that people based their own fandom off of my opinion? Did I ever insinuate that? No. But the bigger thing is this winning is a learning curve. And another person said, that texted into the text line and said, how can you not see that if the Admirals do well, it is positive for the Predators? It's our farm team, for goodness sakes. Randy says, Jared, do you believe the Predators would be pushing the watch parties and radio coverage if fans didn't recognize the players and things like that? I would say I just don't see the correlation. Like, I know, and again, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I do not see the correlation that the Admirals winning games means that the Predators will be good next season.
You think it's just coach speak when Trotz says stuff like that?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's all it is. It's like this, right? Like if I had somebody coming up through the farm, if I had a bunch of guys coming through the farm system and my choice was that their experience in the lower levels can be to win or lose, I mean, I want them to win. Hey, we build winners here. That's what we want to do. But I mean, I have it pulled up in front of me. This is the 2021 minor league baseball AAA. Let's do 22 since we're in 2023 right now, right?
I guess that would correlate better. Okay. The next season, people are expecting them to make an impact for the Preds.
Okay, so right now, for instance, like Jacksonville was third in the International League East. That's the Marlins affiliate. How good are the Marlins? For instance, right now, the winner of the National League of the International League West was actually the Sounds, 91-58. Way to go, Sounds! But are the Brewers the top of the NL Central right now? I don't think they are.
Actually, they are.
Are they really?
Yeah, one game ahead of Pittsburgh.
Maybe it was the Sounds that did that for them.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think there's a correlation.
Looks like Miami's one game above 500.
Yeah, they stink.
So, pretty average.
I'll tell you, again, not to go all baseball, the Braves, who were awesome last year, Gwinnett was 21 and a half games out of first place. And we still call dudes up from Gwinnett all the time. So I never thought about, what Bryce Elder needs to learn how to win at AAA Gwinnett. That's just me. Adam says, I know what you're saying. When I said play-by-play, I meant on Twitter. Like the people that went out of their way to tweet more play-by-play because of what you said, again, on Twitter.
I think that makes sense, actually.
That does. And look, I get it. I mean, I get it. Like, I understand why people were mad. I understand why people get mad at my opinions. Here's the one thing that I always say about this. I've been doing this show now for 8 years. And we did it with Floyd, and I think we all will agree that those were the good old days of this program, for whatever reason. And when it comes, by the way, to what people write about me or say about me or anything, none of it really bothers me until they start bringing up Floyd. Because I'm like, look, man, I don't want, like, when you're talking about things you don't like about me, you don't need to bring the old man dying into it. This has nothing to do with him. Your angst towards me has nothing to do with him. That's the only time that I ever, probably get a little sensitive to criticism. But as far as people being like, I hate Jared Stillman, I mean, I don't care about that. But we've been doing this now for 8 years, right? Like, I'm going to have fun on the radio. That's what I've been doing for 8 years. It's been a very successful program. Why would I change? I even said it. I love the Predators. And I said, if you're a Preds fan, I love you. And people still got mad. Does saying I love you not mean anything anymore, Ian?
Means something to me.
Yeah, it doesn't mean something to people who get mad about it. So look, you guys know I get on the radio. I have a good time. Ian and I have been doing this for a long time. When it's time to be serious, we're serious. When it's time to break down a big trade, we break down the big trade. When it's time to figure out something we don't know anything about, we do that. When it comes to this, I mean, come on. It's either you can believe what you want to believe, or you can believe what I believe. And I believe what I believe. So make of that what you will. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Do we know when the next watch party is? Because I have been invited.
I believe the series begins on Thursday. I don't know I assume that's the watch party.
Okay, so I had plans on Friday, and even though the Predators invited me and offered the first round on me, I did not attend. Should we go on Thursday?
Why not? I'd say so.
Do we have anything else to do on Thursday? Does wrestling come on Thursday?
Nothing comes to mind. You hate wrestling. Nothing comes to mind. It's a long weekend, so you have Monday, Memorial Day off.
I mean, we have to assume that basketball will be over by then, as far as the conference finals, and I think they wait until Memorial Day to start the NBA finals.
Yeah, they probably wait the weekend to start maybe Sunday or Monday.
Boy, basketball has just been
surprising.
Just butt-kicking city. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your thoughts on this kind of stuff. Plus, the Titans OTAs began today, but the what we're allowed to see begins tomorrow. What a lot of people are going to want to know about. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour. With special guest, I Prevail. This Tuesday, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. On sale now. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You know why insurance companies use all those cute and funny characters? To distract you from realizing you're only getting one option. If you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time. But not with Xander Insurance, because they work for you. Xander is a broker that shops dozens of top companies to find the best competitive rates for the coverage you need, and they keep reviewing your policy every year to make sure you're getting the best value. They're always available to answer questions, handle problems, and make sure that when it comes to insurance, your life is simple and hassle-free. You even have direct access to their senior management team. If your current company or agent doesn't do this much for you, let Xander Insurance help. Compare rates online at Xander.com or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch. When Xander works for you, you're going to see the difference. Again, that's 800-356-1780, or you can visit Xander.com with no characters needed.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Some more playoff action on our airwaves, and both the NHL and NBA lined up on this Monday night. On the hardwood, the Denver Nuggets are looking to bust out the brooms as they are one win away from sweeping the Lakers. ESPN radio coverage of Game 4 begins at 7 on 94.9 The Fan. And on the ice, it's the Florida Panthers looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Final as they return home to host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6:30 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The NFL owners have approved a proposal today that will allow teams to designate one emergency quarterback from its 53-man roster. The rule will allow a quarterback to be activated during a game if the team's first two quarterbacks are unavailable to play. And the Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL affiliate of the Nashville Predators, beat Texas in their series last night to advance to the Western Conference Final. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safarov, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road.
Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Base.
Stillman and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Rank City score. On both sides of the one big possession. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. I did tease a Titans topic, and we will get to that, but we have I can't believe what I'm about to say. We have so many phones on the Milwaukee Admirals.
Booyah.
I mean, hey, my team, the Admirals, my guys. Do we know when the next watch party is?
I assume it will be Thursday night.
Okay.
Yep, that is game one at 9 p.m. Central is puck drop. It's in California.
9 p.m. Central?
Coachella in California.
Where is Coachella? I know they have a music. Is that where they have the music festival?
It's in California.
It's a city?
No, but that's the name of the team, Coachella something or other.
Because that's where the music festival is, right?
Palm Springs, something like that out there.
God, those guys that play on that team got lucky. They get to play in Palm Springs as opposed to having to play, I hate to say it, Milwaukee. If you've ever been to Milwaukee in the winter, holy crap. That was one of those trips when I was in the Big East working women's basketball. Wasn't a huge fan of the Marquette trip every year in February. But I digress. We do have a bunch of phones on this, 615-737-1025. If you want to root for them, be my guest. I'm not rooting against them, but I don't see the correlation that a lot of people are saying, well, that the Admirals winning is good for the Predators. What I think, this is what I believe. I think that a lot of people that are getting behind the Admirals team are just trying to fill a void. Just like, as I was thinking about this, like, I don't care, but if this were the COVID shutdowns again, when we had no sports, and you told me that we were going to get a Milwaukee Admirals game, I would have been freaking glued to the TV during the COVID shutdowns, when all we had on was the 2006 World Series between the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Which, by the way, you know what really got me watching those old games during the COVID shutdowns? All the old taglines that we used to have for, like, products. Like, it used to be like, the starting lineup is presented by Taco Bell, which reminds you to think outside the bun. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot when they were doing all that stuff. Let's get to your phones, as promised, on this 615-737-1025. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Tom has been waiting patiently, wants to get in. What's up, Tom?
Yes. I was listening to you talking about the Admirals and all that, and it brought back a memory I had when I was a young coach. I went to a in-service and heard Tony Mason, who was coaching Arizona, and he made a real good point. He said, if you've got a high school team that goes winless every year, and you have a middle school or junior high team that wins the championship, the middle school coach should be fired, not the head coach, because the whole job of the middle school coach is to prepare the players to run the same system as the high school. So, you know, if you were to compare that to hockey, Isn't the minor league supposed to prepare them to play for the major league team or the home team? I'll hang up and listen to you off the air.
Sure. I don't think that winning is also mutually exclusive with preparing players to play at the next level. Like, I don't necessarily believe that. Now, I thought he was going to go with, the guys that win in high school, those are the guys that win in college. And I was going to be like, Tom Brady's high school team was horrible. Like, go back and look up Tom Brady's high school team. They were like 0-9, which is amazing. And he was the backup quarterback, which is amazing to think about, considering, obviously, Tom Brady's the greatest winner in American sports history. But I feel like, again, I don't think these things correlate at all. Like, I don't think it matters if you win in the minor leagues. I don't think it means you're going to win in the big leagues. And I don't think that if you lose in the minor leagues that you're going to lose in the big leagues. I don't think it means anything. I just, the question is, like, let's use Joakim Kimmel as an example. Because, again, I don't know anything about him, other than they took him high in the draft last year and they projected him on ESPN to be like Victor Arvidsson, I think was the comp that they had, which I don't think is good enough. I would like better than Victor Arvidsson because I think Arvidsson was an average top 6 forward. At his peak, I would like an above average top 6 forward. But like if that dude is the truth, then now all of a sudden, okay, you got a high end forward. Like that's different than just I hope that I don't care what Kiefer Sherwood does. I don't care what Mark Jankowski does. I don't care what any of those guys do because those guys will not be on the team when it is time for the team to get good again. Kyle texts in and says, when a large portion of next season's opening night roster for the Predators is playing in the playoffs, Milwaukee, their success does correlate to next season's Predator success and is experience. How? I don't know if you guys understand this sometimes. The AHL is not as good as the NHL. So if the guys that are going to be on the team this year or next year, if they're in Milwaukee right now and they're playing the Dallas Stars minor leaguers, just because they beat them does not mean that they will graduate to the NHL next year and beat the Dallas Stars good players. Because Jason Robertson doesn't play on that minor league team. Like, that's not... I mean, but I think, again, that's why people are, hey, if this team wins, they get the experience, then they can, but that's not going to help them next year against the Dallas Stars. Congratulations. You're better than the other Dallas, the minor league Dallas Stars. Texture says, I've been trying to figure out why I care, but you just nailed it. It's a replacement for the Predators, and we do sort of know the players because of the sell-off at the end of last year. Boy, that makes me feel bad. It's like that guy was like, I didn't know why I cared, and now I do know why I care, and now I feel bad.
Don't feel bad, you care.
Yeah. Feel however you want to feel. And feel it for whatever reason you want to feel it. Texture said, how many of the 2006 Admirals were building blocks for the Predators? All right, let's pull up, if we can find it, the Milwaukee Admirals 2006 Calder Cup roster. I've got it in front of me. Ian, you tell me if this player ended up being a high-end NHL guy.
Okay.
Simon Gamache.
No.
Paul Brown.
No.
Brandon Siegel.
No.
Cal O'Reilly.
He was one of those career minor leaguers.
Scotty Upshaw.
First round pick that did not turn out.
He was okay. Darren Hayter, who I think was like top 5 in the league in points scored.
That guy was another career minor leaguer who always put up legit points. He's probably, an older guy.
Greg Klassen.
Clausen, maybe. No, he didn't turn in anything.
Jordan Tutu.
I don't know about high end, but he was an NHLer.
He was a fan favorite. I mean, Jordan Tutu had nothing to do with when this organization started having success in 15, 16, those years. Sean McAslin.
No.
Libor Pivko.
Definitely not.
Zach Storatini.
I don't think he was never. No, none of these guys were ever like, well, I shouldn't say none as we continue to go down the list here at times, but.
I mean, here's the deal. Shea Weber played on that team. Kevin Klein played on that team, and Klein was never a high-end guy. I mean, he was fine. He was a top 4 defenseman. Klein was never a high-end guy, and Pekka Rinne played on that team.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 guys, Rinne and Weber. And guess what? Even if they weren't good in the AHL, the team wasn't good, I still feel like Rinne and Weber would have been good no matter what. And not only that, that was 2006.
No, Rich Peverly played on that team. He was okay.
Well, he won a cup.
Yeah.
In Boston. But he was a 4th-line guy.
Greg Zanin was okay, never a big guy. Ryan Parent, also kind of a bust. So, yeah, and then Pekka.
So it was Pekka and Weber and Kevin Klein.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, this is my point. The big point that I have here with they did not win a playoff series until 2011. So they got to the Calder Cup finals in 2006, and you're like, look at what that meant for the future. They didn't win a playoff series for 5 years. 5 whole years. If this team does not win a playoff series for another 5 years, it's been 5 years since they last won a playoff series. If this team does not win another playoff series for 5 years, that will be a decade of not winning a playoff series. Now that, I don't know what will happen to this. Woof. Glenn from Greenbrier says this is the dumbest topic on 102.5 ever, arguing about minor league hockey. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I got to be honest with you. Everybody was mad at me over the weekend. I mean,
they were.
Twitter was mad at me. Twitter gets mad at me all
Twitter always loves to get mad at you.
Well, and it's like they haven't really had a lot to get mad at me because really my big things about the Predators have been time to sell off, time to get rid of the GM, time to move on from the coach. And for a while...
Some of them are starting to buy into that.
Right. They were ardent defenders of David Poile. Remember when I poo-pooed the Ryan Hartman trade? And it was like, I'll trust David Poile before I trust you. And then I was right about that. And now they're at a point where they're like, yeah, I don't want David Poile to be the GM anymore either. So they haven't had anything to be mad at me about lately. So then they got this and they got all worked up about it. And I said this on Robbie and Joe Friday, and I stand by this. I think it is crazy that Predator fans, and I'm talking about the base. Predator fans, I think, are more concerned right now with how the minor league team does in the playoffs, which, again, you can care about whatever you want, than they are when it comes to whether or not they're going to fire the coach. I mean, this is a big deal, whether or not they're going to fire the head coach of the NHL pro team. That's crazy. But they each their own. Texture says, Jared, wouldn't you rather have a team that's winning games in the AHL than one that isn't? Sure. Yeah, yay. If some of those players are able to win at a current level that they are currently at, they should be able to translate some of that over to the NHL. I mean, I don't think Shea Weber and Pekka Rinne's careers were made because the Milwaukee Admirals were good in 2006, and thus Shea Weber and Pekka Rinne were good in 2012. I don't buy that correlation. But they're my team now, the Admirals. I'm rooting for them. I'm pulling for them. Go team. 615-737-1025. Is there going to be a watch party with a 9 o'clock game, or is that too late?
They said there is.
There's a watch party?
Yeah.
Do we know where it's going to be?
Ford Ice Center, Bellevue, I believe it was.
Ford Ice Center, Bellevue. 9 o'clock might be too late for us. We'll have to make a decision on that. 615-737-1025. OTAs tomorrow. OTA started today, but the first official time that we can see them is tomorrow. Coming up next, the one thing that everybody wants to talk about, I do not think is going to be a thing at OTAs tomorrow. I'll explain. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls.
Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course.
You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities.
Like Jared Stillman.
Like Derek Mason.
It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be for a great cause, and you'll have a chance to win great prizes.
Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Hey guys, it's Mike at Newton Ford. We're a dealership in Shelbyville, Tennessee, just a few minutes outside of Murfreesboro. We love to give back to the community like teacher appreciation giveaways, student scholarships, and first responder lunches. This month, if you're in need of a newer pre-owned vehicle, this giveaway is for you. With any vehicle purchase, new or used, every single customer will get a $500 Kroger gift card. That's right, this month, fill up your garage and your grocery cart. We know times are tough and groceries are more expensive these days, which is why we're offering this special offer. The only requirement is you buy an in-stock vehicle and finance with us. We have over 80 new cars and over 140 pre-owned vehicles, and a long list of banks ready to help make the purchase fit your budget as well. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the hot lot. Just start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton FastPass. Don't miss this opportunity to get a vehicle you want and the groceries you need with the help of Newton Ford in Shelbyville, Tennessee. See website for details.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds.
It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you something nobody else can.
Genesis Vice President David Cooper.
The craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar none better than anything else.
Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from New York and California, with over 4,000 rings to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly one of a kind.
We can custom craft you literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream you have. Things that other stores may call new, we've been doing for 3, 4, and even 5 years already.
So don't settle for a ring with a stale design or with inferior craftsmanship. Let Genesis help you get the look, the quality, and the value you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs, voted year after year best jewelry store in Nashville.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tim, what do you think Will Levis needs to work on, the number one thing that he needs to work on in the offseason?
Yeah, here's what I think, and this is my evaluation watching him. I thought in college there were times it was like, wow, this guy's awesome. Like his physical ability is there, but then he's had the work. You know, he's played. But then there were times it was like, man, why did you do that? And I always thought, and I don't get this opportunity when I'm just watching somebody, you know, with a video of them playing, is say, what did you see there? Why did you do that? Like, how come? Like, what was this? What angle did you think this receiver was going to take? Or what did you think was going on with the pass protection? And I think that would give me a glimpse into, like, how far away is he?
There you go. That was Tim Hasselbeck on the Midday Show last week. And so tomorrow we get our first glimpse of Will Levis in Titans OTAs. Now, I said I was at a wedding this weekend, and every question that anybody had for me was like, hey, Jared, how you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? What about Will Levis? And the national media will not let it go, this idea that Will Levis and Tannehill are competing for the job. Ian, I sent this to you and Caroline the other day. Sunday Night Football put out the heights of all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and they had Will Levis as the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans.
They had to miss the picture in the graphic.
Night football. So they won't let this go. And so a lot of people, like, I'm going to be there tomorrow. I think a lot of people are going to, how's Levis look? What do you think about Levis? Levis. I know Mike Vrabel too well. Mike Vrabel is not going to put Will Levis out there with the first team tomorrow. No chance. Mike Vrabel is also, I don't think, we'll see tomorrow, going to have Will Levis with the second team. I think at the very beginning, which tomorrow is, I guess today technically was, but that we can watch, I expect to see Will Levis and Tajay Spears with the third team. I expect to see Peter Skoronski with the first team, but I expect them to have Will Levis and Tajay Spears with the third team. And I think that that's kind of the message of, the rookies have to earn their place. Lawrence Taylor always tells the story that he started with Bill Parcells on the third team. Now, Lawrence Taylor was the number 2 pick in the draft, but Lawrence Taylor always says, oh, yeah, I started on the third team. The first practice, I was on the third team. Then I ran one play, and they put me on the second team. Then I ran another play, and they put me on the first team. That is not going to happen to Will Levis. My guess is Ryan Tannehill with the starters. I don't think anybody would question that. Malik Willis tomorrow will be with the number 2s. So it'll be Malik. It'll be Hassan Haskins. It'll be Corey Levin. It'll be, I'm just trying to think of guys that wouldn't technically be starters. Nick Westbrook-Akina will be out there. And then I think it will be Will Levis with the third string guys. And I don't think Will Levis will throw a single pass to anybody on the team other than maybe Tajay Spears and maybe Josh Wiley that is actually going to play football for the Titans, hopefully in a meaningful capacity this season. And so people want to, how did Levis look? Well, Levis played against the third teamers, and this is how Levis looked. It'll be guys we don't even know. It'll be, who's number 24? Who the hell's that? Oh, that is Ron Smith. Who? He's in his third year. He was undrafted out of Louisiana Lafayette State Tech. Oh, okay. Nice little play by him. That's what I think Levis is going to be doing tomorrow. So I don't think there will be like, how did Levis look? Well, Levis is not completing the ball to Treylon Burks. He's not checking it down to Derrick Henry. He's not going to be throwing it against Kevin Byard. If Kevin Byard is there, which will be a story tomorrow, if Kevin Byard is not there, that'll certainly be a part of it. But the biggest thing that everybody wants to talk about, Levis. I think the idea of a quarterback controversy will have to really wait until training camp. Because once you get to training camp, now we don't have the reps to waste anymore. And that's what I've talked about with the Malik thing, which is, the Titans have probably told Malik, hey, we want you to stay on the plan you're on. We drafted you. We believed in you. We're developing you. You stay on your plan. You don't worry about Tannehill. You don't worry about Levis. You do your job. You do what we tell you to do. You get better every day. Which is easy to tell somebody right now. But when you get into training camp and you only have X amount of reps and there's only X amount of snaps in 3 preseason games, now it's like, well, you need to play less because we have to get the other guy ready. Which is a little unfortunate. But I am excited to go out there tomorrow. I am excited to see Will Levis, just like I was excited at the rookie minicamp. But I don't think there's going to be anything fun to get back at you with when it comes to Levis. I think he'll be the third string quarterback tomorrow, even though we all know that he won't be the third string quarterback when the season starts. 615-737-1025. We already know some of the guys who are there and what that may mean for OTAs. Plus, when it comes to the OTAs, the one thing that I will say about Malik Willis, and the new rules will help Malik Willis, or they should. We'll get to that next as well. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays. All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport.
We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tools of the Game brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment. During Northern Tool's Memorial Day sale, it's time to save on fans, shelters, canopies, lawn and garden equipment, and more. Cool off with a Northern Tool exclusive Ironton 20-inch high-velocity floor fan for only $59.99. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of one while supplies last at theGameNashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at theGameNashville.com/deals.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You get any free advice when people see on the street on who you should pick?
Oh, all the time. You know, I get everything from who to pick, who to trade back to, who to trade, you know, who not to trade, you know. So without question is a question about Derek. You know, I was at an event and I was taking a picture and, you know, I have my arm around the lady and take a picture and she leans in, "You better not trade Derek." And she scared the hell out of me because it came from like a motherly, authoritative place. And I was just like, "Yes, ma'am," you know.
You better not trade Derek. Yes, ma'am, I promise that I will not trade Derrick Henry. And they have not. So today was the first day of OTAs. Now, tomorrow's the first day that we can see them. And I was stunned by this. Derrick Henry was at OTAs. Now, when I was in high school, we used to play basketball in the summer. You know, right around this time of the year, the TSSAA would let us have a couple of practices or something, and then we'd go to team camps and things like that during the summer. And our best player was a kid by the name of Ricky Coleman. And Ricky Coleman was a really good baseball player, ended up playing at Lipscomb. And so Ricky Coleman was always playing baseball in the summer, and so he was never playing basketball with us during the team camps and things like that. Ricky was always busy. But even though we all knew that Ricky was our best player and Ricky wasn't there, like we all understood it, we all got it, and we all knew that when it was time to go, Ricky was going to be our best player. And I say this because I always got those same kind of vibes when it came to Derrick Henry, which was, look, Derrick doesn't show up for the voluntary workouts. Derrick works off on his own. Derrick doesn't show up for OTAs because they don't let Derrick do anything as far as OTAs are concerned. And Derrick shows up at the start of training camp, and he does absolutely nothing during training camp that we see except go to the podium, get asked questions, and give the response of like, yeah, just working to get better every day. That's it. Like, that's Derrick Henry every year. Now, there is an important reason that I point out that Derrick Henry's there, as is Ryan Tannehill. And that is because the media is convinced that the Titans may move off of Tannehill, Henry, and Byard. And if I am, and unless I'm mistaken, if those guys get hurt in the OTAs, their salaries that the media, how can you pay Derrick Henry all that money? Their salaries become guaranteed. Same with Ryan Tannehill and all that money that everybody's worried about him making. Why everybody says they should trade Ryan Tannehill. If Tannehill gets hurt, I believe that money becomes guaranteed. And so I went to the Titans' Twitter knowing that they'd put some things up there, nothing good that we could see, but I just wanted to see who was there. That'll be the first thing when we get there tomorrow will be, I don't know, Terry McCormick or somebody like that will be, oh, okay, well, he's not here, and he's not here. But everyone's going to want to know who else is there. And so I'm looking at the Titans' Twitter. Hassan Haskins is there. Derrick Henry is there. Chigakonkwo is there. Ryan Tannehill is there. Who's 98? Is that, who's 98?
I thought that was Simmons.
I thought Simmons was 94.
No.
No, he's 98. You're right. Simmons is there, which of course Simmons is going to be there because he just got paid. Why did I think he was 94?
I thought that was, who was it last year? Walker? Or Kevin Strong was
his
a 94?
Twitter handle number?
It might be. Grind Simmons 94.
That might be what it is.
Maybe that was Mississippi State number. I don't know. I think he's 98. Yep.
Azeez Al-Shire's there. Sean Murphy-Bunting is there. Let's see. I don't know who some of these guys are. So, again, the real question is Byard. Is Kevin Byard, and a texter does say that, text in and says the real question is Kevin Byard there? And there are two reasons that this is important. Number one, I think about the respect angle of the Titans asking Kevin Byard whether or not to take a pay cut, and Kevin Byard said no. And so I wonder if Byard is looking at this and saying, you didn't respect me, I'm not showing up for OTAs. There's also the injury concern of this. So there's that injury concern to me that is, well, we might want to be trying to move Kevin Byard. And the last thing we want if we want to move Kevin Byard is for Kevin Byard to get hurt. So we told Kevin Byard to stay at home. But if you tell Kevin Byard to stay at home for OTAs, you might as well release him because he's not that disrespect level. Remember what happened when they told Steve McNair to stay at home? That was the end of that. You tell Kevin Byard to stay at home, that's the end of it. So I don't know if Byard will be there tomorrow. And I think there's a lot of people that want to know. Now, I was thinking about this when it comes to Henry, and I could be wrong about this, but I was thinking that maybe the reason why Derrick Henry is there is because they are installing somewhat of a new offense. So, this time with all of the terminology that's supposedly changing, they end up promoting Tim Kelly. Vrabel says when they promote him, we're not going to change the offense that much because I don't think everything's broken. Then Tannehill shows up for OTAs and is like, oh, it's so totally, absolutely different, new offense. It's all these things. And maybe Derrick's like, okay, with a new offense, I need to be there, even though I'd be better off in Texas, working out with my guru, running my mountains, everything else. I'm better off to be here so I can sit down with Tim Kelly and I can sit down with the new running backs coach because Tony Dews, the running backs coach for forever, has been moved to tight ends coach. So I can sit down with these guys. We can go over what I need to know, and then I can get back to running my mountains with my gurus. But I was a little surprised Derrick Henry was there because Derrick Henry's almost ever there. But maybe it is about the offense. And so that'll be another thing that I want to keep my eye on, which is whether or not Derrick Henry actually gets any reps. Because in training camp, Derrick gets reps for about the first 2 weeks. The second they put the pads on, Derrick goes right to the sandpit. and they don't let Derek take a meaningful hit. With no pads on, will they let Derrick Henry play just so he can get a feel for the offense? Now, here's the other thing about the Byard front. If Byard is not there tomorrow, then it opens up a huge can of worms. And I'm going to tell you what that can is. It is about what to believe or what not to believe in terms of where the relationship between him and the team is. Rand Carthon confirmed that they asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut. And we know that Kevin Byard didn't take a pay cut because I told you guys that I had been told that he said no. And that he wasn't going to do it. And then a couple hours later, Adam Schefter tweeted out that Byard didn't feel the need to take a pay cut. So we know that they asked Byard to take a pay cut, and we know that Byard said no. And then from then, all that's happened is everybody said, well, you said he requested to be released, and that's not true. And I have never backed off of that report. Ian, have I ever taken that back? No matter who said, well, I talked to someone who says it's not true, and Rand Carthon said it wasn't true, and Jim Wyatt wrote that it wasn't true. But have I ever taken that back?
Not that I can remember.
I have not taken that back. Just like the guy from ESPN who reported that the Washington Commanders reached out to Andrew Luck, didn't take it back, even though the NFL, quote unquote, completed their investigation and found no tampering. You want to know why? Because I believe the Commanders did reach out to Andrew Luck. They just weren't completely stupid about how they did it, which is something that the Commanders aren't completely known for. So you all want to sit here and say in February or March or whenever it was that when we start talking about Kevin Byard, that, oh, you were wrong and you said, I stand by what I said. The same person that told me that Kevin Byard had requested his release because the Titans wouldn't guarantee him any money for the future years is the same person who called me Friday before the draft or the Friday of the draft and said the Titans are doing everything they can to try to trade up and go get Will Levis. The same guy who told me John Robinson got fired before John Robinson got fired. So if we don't see Byard out there tomorrow, then I think we have to wonder what's the future for Kevin Byard with the Tennessee Titans. If Byard is out there tomorrow, then I guess it's water under the bridge. We asked you to take a pay cut. You said no. End of story. Do not expect Mike Vrabel to tell you anything tomorrow after practice when it comes to if Byard's not there, where's KB? He's not going to tell you anything. My guess is Byard's not there. And if Byard was there, don't you think if Byard was there, the team's Twitter account would have put that out there? They put out Henry there. They put out Tannehill there. They put out Simmons there. They put out Sean Murphy Bunting there. But they didn't put out Byard there. And if Byard's not there, the question becomes, whose choice was it for Byard to not be there? Was it Byard's voluntary choice of, you disrespected me by asking me to take a pay cut, so I'm not showing up? Because Byard always has shown up. I mean, Byard, he's the leader in all of this. He's the one guy that every year when the offseason starts, you know Kevin Byard will be there. Or is it the Titans telling Kevin Byard, hey, stay away, stay off the field until we get this contract thing worked out? And if the Titans are willing to do that, then they're never going to have Kevin Byard ever again. My gut, and we'll know tomorrow, I don't want anybody to think Jared Stillman is reporting something that I'm not reporting. My gut is Byard's not there, and it's his choice. That's my gut. Maybe we'll see him tomorrow. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Texter says, how many games did Byard win for the Titans? And I'm not talking about his leadership. I mean, I think Byard's pretty good. Like this idea of like his direct, he made the tackle, he made the interception, whatever it may be. Off the top of my head, I can't give you an answer. I mean, I think Kevin Byard's pretty good. And I think he's pretty reliable. Now, they need to get to the quarterback, and he becomes a much better player the second that they do. But, I mean, I still think Kevin Byard's pretty good. I mean, I don't think Kevin Byard's an elite player anymore, but I still think he's pretty good. I don't think he's Derrick Henry, but I think he's pretty good. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. A bunch of stuff has gone down in the NFL. We'll hit that. Plus, one thing that I am praying and hoping and just hands together that the Titans are not involved in. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game? I'm odd, so I get the odd picks. They have a new coaching staff. It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Dave Matthews Band Live. This Friday, Bridgestone Arena. Buy tickets now at livenation.com. Pre-order the new album, Walk Around the Moon, now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Want to enter the construction field as a career? Make good money and finish with no debt and earn while you learn. Average starting salary over $18 an hour. First year of college averages $10,000. 4 years of our Construction Trades Academy, a total of $8,000 to $9,600. Applications are open with first-year scholarships available. CTANash.com. ABC Greater Tennessee Construction Trades Academy. Apply today. CTANash.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, to Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The NFL wants to make it sound like that they stand above integrity and they do it the right way, but by the same token, behind the scenes, they're taking money from the gambling spots. That's the problem I have. That to me is, you can't be in bed with with Vegas, and they are. I mean, it is a little. You gotta be fair. It is a little mischievous. It's a little hypocritical. Gotta be fair. It's a little hypocritical.
That was Mad Dog Russo talking about the NFL suspending players who gamble. I don't have a problem with that. If you're an employee of the NFL, you cannot gamble on sports, period. And you cannot gamble on the NFL. And so if you're a player, you can gamble on sports. You just can't gamble on the NFL. And if you do it, you're out. And I'm fine with that. And I don't care about what's his name that got 6 games? Jamison Williams. He only did college football, but he was on a facility when he did it. The rules are the rules. And I don't have a problem with that. But apparently, according to ESPN, there's a new, they're going inside the gambling policy, and there's going to be an uptick in violations. And so ESPN writes, quote, in the wake of 5 players being suspended in April, the NFL is investigating a second wave of potential violations of its gambling policy, multiple sources told ESPN. The uptick in gambling-related issues comes 5 years after a landmark ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. So I don't care about, the backstory on all of this or necessarily what the rules are. But all those players with the Lions and whatnot got suspended in April. And they write at ESPN, the April suspensions brought into focus the different ways the NFL is catching those who violate the gambling policy, including third parties in partnership with the league using geolocation to identify bets being placed from prohibited jurisdictions, such as team facilities. Additionally, companies, including the NFL partner U.S. Integrity, are developing platforms aimed at tracking bets placed by prohibited individuals, such as players and coaches. Leagues or teams would provide a list of prohibited bettors to the platforms, which would then be shared with the sportsbooks. If a prohibited bettor attempts to wager, the technology flags it. So basically, they've got the new violations that are being detected now. I hope the Titans aren't a part of this. I have no idea knowing if they are or if they aren't. I have no idea knowing who. There's no way to know which Titan player decided that, hey, I'm going to place a couple shekels on the basketball game while I'm at the team facility and I'm sitting here eating a hamburger. And while I'm doing this, let me go ahead and take out my phone, pull up my app, and play a little bit on the Nuggets tonight. I have no idea. It reminds me as a fan of being a Braves fan in the mid-2000s. Do you guys remember the Mitchell Report when that came out? They had hired the former Senator George Mitchell. Major League Baseball had to run an investigation about steroids in the game, and it was a big deal when the Mitchell Report came out. It's kind of crazy. This tells you how little of a life I had as a kid, that when I was a senior in high school, because I want to say it was the fall of 2007 that the Mitchell Report came out, I sat down at my desk at home at my parents' house, and I was looking through the Mitchell Report, just seeing what players were named, and I found it all so fascinating that ultimately I ended up reading the whole thing. Like, I didn't set out to read the Mitchell Report, but I did read the Mitchell Report. And the whole time, all I was thinking about was, please not the Braves, please not the Braves, please not the Braves, please not the Braves. That's all I was thinking about. And, Javi Lopez in 2002 had like 15 home runs, and he had 43 home runs in 2003. And so I thought he could have been a guy. Marcus Giles of the Braves had a big season and had a couple of big seasons in there. And then he, went right down the toilet and was involved in domestic situations. And I wondered if he could be a guy who may have gotten popped for steroids. John Smoltz had a bunch of elbow injuries and was older. I was hoping he wouldn't have been a guy. And not that I had any reason to believe that Javi Lopez or John Smoltz or any of those guys did steroids. It was just the idea that they're releasing this report, and it was like, please not, please not, please not, please not, please not. And most of the guys who ended up getting caught were either guys that were tied to the Giants and Barry Bonds, or guys in New York where their informants who had been running in the clubhouse, had all the info on the New York guys. That's how I feel about this. Which is, if there's a second wave that comes down of gambling suspensions, the last wave, it was the Lions. Like, I think there was one player from Washington that got suspended, but it was the Lions. It was like 5 Lions players got suspended for a season for betting on the league like Calvin Ridley did. And now, because of that, there's more that's come up, and I'm guessing it's going to be different teams. It's like, oh, wow, we need to get our ducks in a row too. And then they did, and then they saw, oh, my goodness. So, I mean, I hope it's not a Titan player, especially a good player. But I also believe, and I know, we played the Mad Dog cut where Mad Dog was talking about how, well, it's a hypocritical for the league to be in bed with the gambling companies and advertise the gambling companies and then tell the players they can't bet on it. I don't believe that. And I believe that they have to follow the rules when it comes to this. You can't say, well, Jameson Williams didn't bet on the NFL, so let's look the other way, tell him not to do it again, and be okay in that regard. You can't do that. So, again, whatever this second wave of gambling suspensions is, I hope it's not the Titans. Could you imagine how devastating it would be if Jeffrey Simmons got popped for the season on that? And we have no idea knowing which way it would be. Here's some other NFL things. They've got the league owners, the spring meetings. They meet every 6 weeks or whatever it is. They've got the latest league business. Number one, the Peacock streaming playoff game is official. I think it is beneath the NFL. I think it's reprehensible to put a game streaming in the playoffs on there. But there was a fascinating article that I read over the weekend, basically about how Comcast, forced the NFL into allowing Peacock to stream a playoff game, and they used their carriage, yeah, carriage Their carriage. Mm-hmm. They're carriaging.
Probably. Yeah. Sure.
Whatever. They used that, their carrying of the NFL Network, in order to basically bend the NFL over and say, hey, you've got to give us a playoff game on Peacock. Because remember, on May 1st, the NFL Network went dark on Comcast.
Right after the draft.
And Comcast is apparently the biggest carrier in the United States. And so it was like, if they had just gone through the offseason until training camp with no NFL Network, the league would have lost something like $50 million, $80 million just in those subscription fees. So they end up getting their $50 million, $80 million, whatever it is in subscription fees, and they get $110 million on top of it for the game. But that's now official. Thursday Night Football, the flex, weeks 13 through 17, there is a 28-day notice before they flex a Thursday night game. That is now in effect. I'm in favor of that, by the way. I don't want to see Zach Wilson at the end of last season on Thursday Night Football. That game was terrible. I like Monday Night Flex. I like Thursday Night Flex. I went to a Thursday night game last year. I think we decided less than 28 days out that we were going to go to the game. We had a grand old time. It was expensive to fly that close to be able to fly into Green Bay. I'm sure it won't be that expensive to fly into Pittsburgh as it was to fly into Green Bay. But I will say this again, I'm fine with that. I understand that I may be inconvenienced once a year every 4 or 5 years over a Thursday night flex, but I will be far more convenienced by crap games being flexed off my TV. And then finally, and this one I do not understand, the 2025 draft is coming to Green Bay. Where are they going to put it? I mean, they'll have to have the draft in Lambeau Field because it's Lambeau Field, and then there's like a couple of bars around it, and it's basically in a neighborhood. It reminds me, and it's not totally like this, like Louisville was more like a college athletic campus type area around the football stadium than Green Bay. But it's still like, there's the giant Louisville football stadium, and then there's the college and the dorms and some restaurants and some bars and some whatever. And that's how I felt about Green Bay. Like, it was just a stadium right there, and then there's houses all around it. It's kind of like Floyd Stadium at MTSU, where you look across the street from Floyd Stadium at MTSU, there's houses. It's kind of like Vandy. There's a football stadium, and then, there's the hot doggery. I don't know how they're going to have a draft. Could you have a draft at Floyd Stadium at MTSU or a draft at Vanderbilt Stadium? First Bank Field, I believe it's called. You can't have a draft there. So the Green Bay draft, that one caught me by surprise. And what has Green Bay done for the league? They haven't gone to London, have they? They haven't done any of that stuff that you have to do.
They went to London. Yeah, I do think they went to London recently. It was last year or the year before.
You know what? You're right. They played the Giants last year.
Mm-hmm.
See, hey, there you go. You go to London, you get something from the league. Everybody who goes to London wants something from the league.
And they announced the Super Bowl for 2026 as well.
That would be San Francisco.
Santa Clara, correct. San Francisco,
Okay.
Levi Stadium. Yep.
So now there's a big fight between Miami and LA for the one after that. My guess is LA's going to get the next one. So next year's Super Bowl is going to be
2024, you're talking, or 23?
Okay, so the 23 Super Bowl's in Vegas. Then the 24 Super Bowl it's really the 24 Super Bowl is going to be Vegas. The 25 Super Bowl is going to be where?
New Orleans.
That's right, New Orleans, then San Francisco.
Correct.
Then I think, I'm not calling a shot here, but I think it's going to be LA, Miami, us. That would make sense because, again, the 25 Super Bowl is in New Orleans. The 26 Super Bowl's in San Francisco. The 27 Super Bowl, the year that your stadium hasn't opened yet, would be in...
Or is that maybe the first year? No, I guess if it's the 27 Super Bowl, it's the
Right.
26th season. Correct, so you'd be a year later.
Right, that would be LA. The next year, the first year of the new stadium, Miami, and then you're the second year of the new stadium.
Okay, I buy it.
So my guess is that's the way it's going to go. Now, again, Miami and LA are fighting for that Super Bowl. And now that, the Super Bowl was just in LA, you may be able to get into the rotation on a permanent basis. I'm not counting on it, but I think maybe you might be. And I do believe Amy Adams Strunk needs to be pushing for that a little bit. We love you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. A wild story out of college football leaves me with one true feeling. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Let's give something away or something along those lines. 615-737-1025. Text line for a pair of tickets before you can bind them to see John Oliver live at the Grand Ole Opry on Monday, July 10th. Tickets go on sale Wednesday at 10 a.m. Is it just going to be like his show where he sits at a desk and they put things on a big screen when he's like, that looks like a porcupine on top of Ronaldo's head? I don't know, but I like John Oliver. So go ahead, 615-737-1025. No. I said text. Don't text.
You did say text line.
I did say text?
Yeah.
All right.
So, a little confusing, but.
The 10th person to text at 615-737-1025 is going to win a pair of tickets to see John Oliver. There you go. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106 of the Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East Entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bills Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Xandr is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Xandr.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Some more playoff action on our airwaves in both the NHL and NBA lined up on this Monday night. On the hardwood, the Denver Nuggets are looking to bust out the brooms as they are one win away from sweeping the Lakers. ESPN radio coverage of Game 4 begins at 7 on 94.9 The Fan. And on the ice, it's the Florida Panthers looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Final as they return home to host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6:30 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The NFL owners have approved a proposal today that will allow teams to designate one emergency quarterback from its 53-man roster. The rule will allow a quarterback to be activated during a game if the team's first two quarterbacks are unavailable to play. And the Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL affiliate of the Nashville Predators, beat Texas in their series last night to advance to the Western Conference Final. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safarov, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So this, I don't know. I'm actually kind of curious at how much people care about this. Like, I know you all care about Will Levis. I know you care about Titans OTAs. I know that you guys, unlike me, care a lot more about the Milwaukee Admirals winning and losing. And I care a lot about them firing the coach. And I'm not sure you all care about that. But this story I found fascinating. Did you read the story about the Big Ten's TV contract yesterday?
I did not get all the way through it, no.
Okay, so Pete Thamel, who's their main insider for college football, had a breakdown of the Big Ten TV contract. And so remember last summer when they announced that USC and UCLA were going to join the Big Ten, and it was like, okay, now there's two conferences, and they have signed this massive TV contract with Fox. And then all of a sudden it was they signed another massive TV contract with CBS. And now they've signed a massive TV contract with NBC. And it's like, wow. So the Big Ten, because they added two other schools, specifically USC, which I think was the most important one. But because they added these two schools, the Big Ten is going to have 3 games on broadcast television every Saturday. And 3 real ones. You know, they're not putting Rutgers on our TV. They're putting the real ones on our TV. They're putting Ohio State. They're putting Michigan. They're putting Penn State. They're putting USC. They're putting Michigan State. Maybe Iowa or Purdue. They're going to put them on TV. And they're going to get a gazillion dollars to be able to do it. And CBS needed that because they lost the SEC game of the week, which is going to the ESPN family of networks. I don't know if the SEC game of the week is going to be on ESPN or if it's going to be on ABC. I'd put it on ABC, and I'd hire Gary Danielson, but that's just me, and I know most of you don't like Gary Danielson. But, again, like that's, you know, that's the SEC signed the big TV contract a couple years ago, and they're going to have the number 1 game on ABC or ESPN, the number 2 game on ABC or ESPN, the number 3 game, and it'll be all SEC with a little sprinkle of ACC in there, maybe a little Big 12. But it's going to be the SEC. And so last summer was the summer for the Big Ten. They get the two big kahunas, USC and UCLA from the Pac-12. The Pac-12's rights go in the toilet. The Big Ten's rights explode, and they sign these two TV contracts to go with their Fox deal. And now, they're just as rich as the SEC. Except not totally. Apparently, the deal's not done. Quote, an industry source tells ESPN, these deals aren't done, and they aren't what they were represented to be from the standpoint of the NBC deal and the availability of all members to participate in November games in prime time. Kevin Warren, who was the commissioner of the Big Ten when all this went down, he's gone. He's the Chicago Bears team president. So they've got a new president that has to clean up this mess. Apparently, the Big Ten, Kevin Warren, negotiated a TV deal with NBC offering up a conference championship game that he did not have the right to give up. Apparently, Fox and the Big Ten Network had the right to that Big Ten title game in 2026, and they gave it to NBC. So now the Big Ten, who thought they were going to make all this money in the world from this new TV deal, they've got to pay Fox back because they took a Big Ten championship game away from them. According to the ESPN story, quote, recently schools have found out they are going to have to pay back nearly $40 million to Fox because according to sources, Warren delivered NBC the Big Ten football title game in 2026 without full authority to do so. Holy crap. They're also going to have to pay $25 million in total for a deal to pay Fox back for the loss of the 2020 football inventory, which it makes total sense. And then, according to the ESPN report, there's tens of millions of dollars of value of the NBC primetime deal in flux as the new commissioner has been racing to ensure it keeps as much of its original value as possible. Historically, in the Big Ten, after the first weekend in November, schools were not required to play night games for a myriad of reasons, health, recovery, and campus logistics among them. These were known in league circles as tolerances, and prior TV contracts accounted for them. So NBC paid all this money for the second and third best games out of the Big Ten every other week. And so now they're hoping, hey, we want a night, we want Ohio State. And Ohio State's like, we don't play at night in November. Well, I mean, we're not putting Purdue on. So you got, hey, you got to give us Ohio State. You got to give us Michigan. You got to give us Penn State. And those schools are saying, well, hold on, we're not supposed to do that. And what this all boils down to me is simple. Everybody wants to be the SEC. And nobody can be. It's as simple as that. Everybody wants to be the SEC. Everybody wants the SEC's money. When the SEC says it just means more, I sometimes laugh out loud because I think about the SEC in basketball saying it just means more, and then I watch teams out of the Big East end up either in the Final Four or around the Final Four. Yeah, it just means more. But when they say it just means more, they are telling the truth when it comes to actual dollars with these conferences. This all revolves around football, and the SEC is the only conference in the country, in my opinion, that can constantly get whatever they want. There are certain schools who are not in the SEC who, for years, have tried to compete with the SEC. And I'm not talking about on the field, because people still compete with them on the field even if they don't have their resources. Clemson, I hate to break it to everybody out there, Clemson's a little bit better at football than Vandy. Even though Vandy has better resources in terms of money because they play in the SEC to Clemson, who plays in the ACC. But for years, everybody has always tried to emulate the SEC's facilities, their football programs, their TV contracts, their conference holds, all of those things. And there's a couple of individual schools, Notre Dame, Ohio State, who have the money in pocket. But there's very few of them. And now it's become a conference thing. Florida State, Clemson, Virginia, North Carolina, all those schools in the ACC, they are fed up with the ACC contract that they signed 10 years ago to keep them from doing exactly what they want to do right now, which is break up the conference to go make more money. They literally signed this contract 10 years ago so that this would not happen. And all they do is complain about, well, we don't have the money to compete with these other conferences. And when they say other conferences, they mean the Big Ten and the SEC. But the Big Ten doesn't have what the Big Ten says it has. The Big Ten's TV contract, they're not as good as they made them out to be. They gave away things that they didn't have. Apparently, the entire football inventory of the Big Ten belonged to the Big Ten Network, which is also owned by Fox. So when they're negotiating with NBC and CBS and Amazon and everybody else, Fox is a part of this. And they gave away something they didn't own in the Big Ten championship game. They have to pay all this money back to Fox for games they lost during the COVID season. The SEC is not paying anybody back. One of the complaints in this TV contract for the Big Ten was the initial bidder for the NBC package was Amazon. But the Big Ten was weary of giving a streamer one of their top 3 packages. So they ended up going with NBC and taking less money as opposed to Amazon. The SEC doesn't need to get Amazon involved. The SEC went right to Disney, ABC, ESPN, and said, we're open for business. We're adding Texas. We're adding Oklahoma. We're open for business. Give us all the money. And ESPN and Disney said, yes, sir. And as soon as that happened, Fox called the Big Ten and said, we're getting USC and UCLA. And USC and UCLA are not Oklahoma and Texas. But they're trying. Everybody's trying to be the SEC. And nobody has the money. There's one school that's been trying to compete for the SEC for years. They spent so much money on facilities, football, baseball, academic stuff, all kinds of money. They're just unloaded in debt, like Rutgers is. And I'm not talking about Rutgers when I'm talking about this team I'm talking about here, but they're just loaded with debt that they can't pay off right now and that they need conference money to up because they need to pay it. There's a school, and it's because they were trying to compete with the SEC, and the SEC has the money and they don't. And that's what this Big Ten deal was. This Big Ten deal is basically, I mean, it's still a good deal for the Big Ten, and the Big Ten is clearly the number 2 conference. But what this Big Ten deal, the way that they made out, the success of the conference was that it was at the SEC's level. And the truth is, now that we've seen the money, it's not. Now that we've seen the pitfalls of it, it's not. It is not at the Southeastern Conference's level of a TV contract. And so I saw this. I can't say that I'm shocked by seeing all of this, but I do feel like where I sit and I look at this Big Ten deal and I think about, how the SEC just goes to ESPN and says, hey, this is what we want. And they say, okay. Everybody else, all these other conferences, the only reason the ACC has a TV network is because the SEC got a TV network. The only reason the Big Ten added UCLA and USC is because the SEC decided to add Oklahoma and Texas. And the reason why the Big Ten went to CBS is because CBS lost the SEC. The reason why they went to NBC is because NBC needs to put something on, and Notre Dame alone ain't just going to cut it. And they can't get the SEC. That's my big takeaway from this. 615-737-1025. There was another element of this story that really pissed me off. And it involves the coaches in the Big Ten. And something that, again, I'm not the biggest Greg Sankey guy in the world. I can't imagine Greg Sankey ever having to deal with. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, Touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
How can a half-carat diamond magically grow into a 2-carat diamond? With Genesis Diamond's 110% diamond upgrade guarantee.
Our trade-up policy is the best in the United States.
That's Stasia at Genesis, explaining how if you buy a diamond today and want to trade it in for a bigger one next year, Genesis always gives you back your original purchase price plus an extra 10%.
We will gladly give you every single penny you paid for the diamond plus an extra 10%, which is amazing. No one does that.
As a real-life example, take Stasia's customer Paul.
When he first started, he got a half carat, and then as he became more successful, we rewarded him. He came in and he got a 3/4 carat, and then he's traded for a carat. I'm sure I'll see him this year for a carat and a half. As they grow and change and become more successful, their engagement ring can grow with them also.
And there's no catch, no minimum trade-up requirement, and it works on diamond studs and diamond pendants as well.
You get every single investment dollar you put into the diamond, you will get an extra 10% towards the new diamond.
Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You can trade as many times as you wish.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls. Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me. It's going to be awesome and for a great cause, and you'll have a great chance to win great prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do they have the deal done? They just don't have the contract done? And is there anything that could potentially change how the future of the Big Ten and Peacock look?
So the deal was agreed to in August, but the details aren't done. And that's what they're sort of hurrying through right now, is how to get all these details ironed out, Pat. And there's just a bit of uncertainty that hovers over the league. Ultimately, it's going to cost the school some money, right? Now, one could argue if it's a $7 billion contract, maybe, schools losing $4 or $5 million each isn't that much money. But if you're the dude at Indiana trying to balance the budget, $5 million is a lot of money, right? I don't care who you are. You got a cross-country team that needs uniforms. You got to travel to different places. So there's a disconnect that the new commissioner, Tony Petitti, is trying to sort of put everything together on in a pretty short period of time.
That was Pete Thamel talking about the Big Ten's new TV contract. Again, I think it's like a wannabe SEC contract, like they want to be the SEC, so they put this out there and they told everybody, this is how good our TV contract is. And now that the deal is they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's, NBC's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Fox is sitting there saying, hold on now, wait a minute, what? No, I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on here. I don't, come on now. So on and so forth. There was a little nugget in that Big Ten story that stood out to me, in which, Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten for a couple of years, he screwed up the COVID thing pretty badly. And now, obviously, it looks like he kind of, his TV deal, his lasting accomplishments, not as good as he's making it out to be. So that's kind of how I feel about him. But, the new guy's trying to get this deal across the finish line and everything else. But apparently the coaches do not like the TV contract. So again, the Big Ten's got all this money, and all these coaches are sitting there, and the athletic directors in these other schools, Florida State and Clemson and the ACC and the Big 12 and absolutely the Pac-12, who doesn't have a rights agreement, and they're saying, well, we wish we were the Big Ten. We wish we were the SEC. Apparently, the Big Ten coaches are not happy about this deal. Some of the football coaches don't like the fact that they're going to have to play night games when they're not supposed to. But apparently it's the basketball coaches who hate this TV deal. Now, Ian, your eyes shot up when I said the basketball coaches, because I think your assumption is the basketball coach is a part of this.
Well, football's the moneymaker. So
yeah. It's almost like stay out of this. Like, basketball coaches, you worry about basketball. Don't
not
get into
fair,
the TV discussion. According to the Pete Thamel report, quote, in a Big Ten Zoom call with Kevin Warren and the league's men basketball coaches this summer, after the deal was announced, sources say Michigan State basketball coach Tom Izzo was critical of Warren for the lack of transparency and consultation on the deal. Izzo recently said coaches weren't consulted by the league prior to the deal. Can I ask you guys for a second, who cares what Tom Izzo thinks about the Big Ten's TV contract? I mean, I know that Nick Saban carries a lot of weight in the SEC, but I can't imagine that Nick Saban was heavily involved or consulted with their big TV contract with ESPN. Cannot imagine it. And if Saban doesn't like something, again, for the most part, Saban gives way. If Saban says, I don't like playing at 2:30 on Saturdays, they're going to say, deal with it. This is how it works. And when Saban gets paid $12, $11 million or whatever it is per season that he ends up making, I feel like Saban is going to be okay with it. Tom Izzo, according to the article, added that he has concerns about the amount of games available only on streaming and said that that would be amongst his first questions to Petitti, the new commissioner of the Big Ten, as it was not discussed with us coaches at all. Izzo's concerns reverberate around the rest of the Big Ten. Coaches of Ohio State's Chris Holtmann, who? For our own league to continue to grow and evolve in this new era, I think at the very minimum, the veteran coaches like Tom Izzo and Matt Painter should have had a direct line of communication and a voice in the conversations. Apparently, Ryan Day was upset about this as well. Ryan Day, be happy you have a job. You've lost to Michigan 2 years in a row. And if you lose to Michigan 3 years in a row, you may not get a chance to lose a fourth year in a row. Ryan Day makes a lot of money. Tom Izzo makes a lot of money. But all their money, it's all millions. This stuff is billions. I look at the Peacock deal. I hate the idea of an NFL playoff game streaming on Peacock. I think it's ridiculous. I think it is just so disrespectful to the fans, and I am not planning to buy Peacock. I will find somewhere here that has it, and I will watch the playoff game, but I personally am not signing up for freaking Peacock for one Jacksonville Jaguars playoff game. And I think it's disrespectful to football fans to tell us, hey, you need to buy something else now because we need the money we need that money right now. I think it's wrong. Disrespectful. But this isn't about you. This isn't about Mike Vrabel. Could you imagine if Mike Vrabel went to Amy Adams Strunk and said, I hate the idea of streaming a game. We're the NFL. All of our games are on broadcast TV. We don't even play on cable outside of Monday Night Football. This is absurd to stream a playoff game. Amy, I'm against it. Could you imagine if Mike Vrabel tomorrow at the podium gets up there and starts bitching about the fact that there's a playoff game on Peacock? I mean, he would get reprimanded by the league. Fined, everything. Tom Izzo, you're a basketball coach, babe. And just as easy as it is that you're the head honcho of the Big Ten basketball coaches, you could be gone tomorrow. I watched it happen with Rick Pitino. In the last 5 years, Patino's gone out of the ACC. Kay's gone. Roy's gone. Boeheim's gone. Mike Bray's gone. I mean, you're just a coach. This is not the same as, say, LeBron maybe having a say when it comes to the NBA, or Michael Jordan before him. But even then, LeBron just makes millions. Michael just made millions. The TV deals are for billions. And for the coaches to have the audacity to complain about about these TV contracts when they're all making $10, $12 million now because of it, I think it's crazy. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that Tom Izzo feels like the commissioner of the Big Ten, who is working out TV contracts with Fox, NBC, and CBS, while having negotiations and talks with Apple and Amazon and every TNT and everybody else, and has to deal with the 14, 16 member schools, however many teams are in that conference, and they're moving, the UCLA and USC into the Big Ten, and Tom Izzo, a basketball coach, is sitting there saying, well, nobody called me. Like, Tom, I hate to break it to you, babe, but you don't rank that high on the totem pole. You're not that big of a deal. You're not that high on the food chain. Even a college football coach, I would say, hey, man, probably not good enough for you. You need to stay out of this. But that, the entitlement in that, we definitely should have Matt Painter involved in the discussions. Let's see if Matt Painter can beat a 16 seed before we decide whether or not we should ask Matt Painter what he thinks about our TV contracts. Let me say this about the streaming. That would drive me crazy. Now, I do have Paramount Plus, and so my guess is that if these games are streaming, Fox, who's the main rights holder for the Big Ten, they don't have a streamer, do they?
I don't think so.
Because Disney owns both ESPN Plus and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And then CBS has Paramount Plus, which I do subscribe to.
NBC and Peacock.
NBC has Peacock. So if those games are going there, like, I hate to say this about your Big Ten basketball, I'm not going to watch a game on Peacock because I don't have Peacock and I'm not getting it. And apparently the Peacock that I have access to is because the account holder is a Comcast subscriber, but I guess that's going away. So if you subscribe to Comcast, you get Peacock for free, and now I think they're taking that away. So make of that what you will. I find that whole talk fascinating. Craig texts into the text line and says, if you're not going to play games at night in November, why would you think you're going to get SEC money? Agreed. And you can't put USC on every night. USC is probably going to get a lot of those November games, but you can't put them on there every night. Ohio State has to play at night. Penn State has to play at night. And I can't imagine that injuries are a part of the discussion as to why Penn State can't play at night. What's the difference between playing at night and playing at day? So I think that's all crazy. 615-737-1025. Good news for Malik Willis. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, Henry, right up the middle. Touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good.
They have not found their groove.
It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 $50,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Spring. It's a season full of new life and new opportunities to celebrate. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Cellar. From weddings and anniversaries to new babies and graduations, plus everything in between, there's no better place to discover the perfect gift for every occasion than the Diamond Cellar. As a true jeweler, we not only curate the finest selection of luxury jewelry from world-class designers, but we can also create something truly one-of-a-kind just for you. Visit the Diamond Cellar in Green Hills or online at diamondcellar.com.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I think you bring up a good point about Malik. That was a third-round pick last year, and it does look like they're Will Levis is going to supplant him with the opportunity here to take over as a starting quarterback after Ryan Tannehill finishes there. Or who knows? If the season goes south, who knows? Maybe Levis finishes the year. I don't know. But for Malik Willis, is this another guy where maybe a team would trade for him, that style of offense? I don't know what they'd give up to trade. But it clearly looks like, the door is shutting there for his opportunity with Will Levis's arrival.
Well, I'll give it a place where I think it would be interesting just to discuss. I wouldn't give a lot for him. Sorry. But when I look at Baltimore and the developmental guys, Anthony Brown, or I look at Cincinnati and it's Browning, there's a lot of teams with zero on their backup. But it goes to your first point, style. Maybe your third guy doesn't even have the style of what you're doing, and maybe you see Malik Willis as a guy with style that's closer to what you do, although his college coach kind of told us so we need to know.
There you go. That is the guys on Moving the Chains talking about what they can do with Malik Willis now that Will Levis is in there. But good news for Malik Willis. The quote-unquote Brock Purdy rule, as NBC Sports is calling it apparently. The Brock Purdy rule has been put into effect. NFL owners have approved a bylaw today that will allow teams to dress a third quarterback for games without having to use a roster spot on that player. The league allowed teams to dress a third emergency quarterback beginning in 1991, but got rid of the rule in 2010. And as we all know what happened in the NFC Championship game, that both quarterbacks for San Francisco got hurt. Brock Purdy was stuck in the game. They couldn't throw. And for all of us who were sitting down excited for a great game, we sat in the chairs and watched a bunch of dribble. I mean, it was terrible. And so what the NFL has decided is if you want to carry a third quarterback, you can. Now, he has to be on the 53-man roster, which I think does bode well for Malik Willis, because had they allowed you to do what I think a lot of teams would have liked, to have a quarterback on the practice squad, then they could just elevate him before the game. They're not going to let you do that. They're going to make you have 3 active quarterbacks. Now, I don't know how the league will react to it, and I also don't know how the Titans will react to it. Do the Titans view Malik Willis as better than any other third option if a third option has to go in the game? Is Malik Willis better, again, if he has to go in the game because Tannehill's hurt and Levis is hurt? Is Malik a better option than, say, Sean Mannion or Nate Sudfeld or one of these guys that may be available after the start of the season? Remember, Josh Dobbs was on a practice squad last year. There will be plenty of guys like that. And is Malik better than that guy, or would you rather have that guy who's more of a veteran and he just sits in the room and he's there with Tannehill and Levis, but you don't have to focus on, okay, if this guy has to play, what plays can we run? He can run the whole playbook, like Logan Woodside could. Or do the Titans now look at it and say, well, Ryan's 1, Will's 2, Malik's 3. And while we don't expect Malik to play, and Malik will be inactive every game, and he'll be designated as the third quarterback, we still rather have Malik and see if we can develop Malik and see if Malik can get a little bit better. And look, if we're put in an emergency situation like the 49ers were last year, we'd much rather have Malik out there than have Brock Purdy out there handing the ball off every play like he was. I would say that it can't be bad for Malik. I still don't know if he's a fit here. Because again, here, the focus in that quarterback room has to be Tannehill to win games, Will Levis to develop, and the third guy to kind of be out of the way, if there is in fact a third guy, which keeps bringing me back to Logan Woodside, right? Like Logan Woodside. Logan, you just hang out in the room, eat your Cheetos, stay out of the way, help Will Levis out, help Tannehill out, caddy for him. And then, hey, if we're put in a situation where Logan has to go in the game, I would feel safer putting Logan Woodside in an NFL game than I would Malik Willis based off of what I saw last year. Now, the one thing I will say for Malik, and this is where tomorrow, the first open OTA that we'll be able to get to see them out on the practice field for the voluntary work, I think Malik will be the backup quarterback. The one thing that I will say for Malik is that I believe there is a chance that Malik Willis could be very improved going into year 2. But I'm not assuming he's going to be overly improved, and I am not assuming that he is going to be good enough to play in the NFL. Where he finished last year, he was not good enough to play in the NFL. And they probably told him, here's what you need to work on. And I read the story in the Tennessean where his quarterback coach talked to, I want to say it was Nate Suss, where his quarterback coach talked to Nate Suss, and his quarterback coach talked about all the things that Malik worked on. Well, tomorrow we'll see. We'll see if Malik Willis has actually improved. But I'm not going to assume that Malik has improved. If Malik has improved, then there is a chance that maybe he could battle with Levis for that spot. I don't think he will. I think they're going to give it to Levis, but that he could. And then if that's the case, then great. Then great. If he does, great. And then you have your 3 quarterbacks and you deactivate Malik every week and on you go. And that's that. But there's no way that this rule is bad for Malik. Another thing I was thinking about with this third quarterback rule as it relates to Malik, we kept talking last week about trading Malik for a player on another team that's going to get cut. So instead of, for instance, Kendrick Bourne getting cut and with a $4.5 million salary, other teams around the league being able to claim him off of waivers before you're able to do it, you could trade a player that you're going to cut that perhaps that team could use. And I keep thinking about Malik. And I think, is Malik Willis good enough for a team to say, you know what? Let's use Dallas as an example. Dallas cuts a receiver that, could be good, but is just, we're not, it's just not, we don't have a spot for him anymore. And they look at their team and they see Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, and who's the third guy? Could it be Malik? And they trade a receiver that they were going to cut, and now you don't have to worry about the waiver wire because they need a third quarterback. So this third quarterback thing, this is good news for the Titans, and I think it's good news for Malik Willis. And I also think that it's good news for Malik Willis and staying on the Titans. Because I could see Vrabel just saying, fine, those are our three. I mean, if they were able to do this last year where they kept saying, Malik's our two, surely they could say he's our three. And there's no way he's going to be as bad this year as he was last year, and boy, was he bad.
Think they'll have another quarterback in camp or to make that decision? Because they have to be on the 53-man roster in order to be the emergency third quarterback.
I don't think they will.
So you think they'll just rock with three in camp and go for it?
I think they'll do that unless they think, you know what, we need a veteran guy, a Logan Woodside type, as our three. That's the only way, is if they just decide Malik can't even be the emergency guy. Other than that, I think they're fine with three because there's just not enough reps. There's not enough reps for a fourth guy unless you start giving Tannehill days off, and I don't think they're going to do that. But in the preseason games, I mean, Levis and Willis need all the snaps. They don't need to be giving somebody else preseason snaps. Mo Hassan or Kevin Hogan or Deshaun Kaiser or some of the guys they've had in here the last couple of years, they do not need to be giving those guys snaps. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Basketball. What a disappointing conference final we have had in basketball. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase and Michelle, and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Have you ever heard that phrase, less is more? Well, at Harbor Freight, we're all about more for less because we know you like to do stuff, to make stuff, to improve stuff. That's why everything in our stores, from miter saws to tool chests to cordless impact wrenches, is priced affordably. So get out there and drill, paint, and saw to your heart's content. We just ask that whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in the sports betting world. And right now, if you use the promo code THEGAME, THEGAME, to score up to $250 with their best first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code THEGAME. Simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions or download the Superbook Tennessee app in app stores. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of one while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit betterhelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/score.
Bon appetit.
Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some Preds.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Jason Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Boy, the NBA is going to have to pay some money back. So I don't know if you guys know this, but at the NBA playoffs, if they don't go like a certain distance, then the NBA has to pay money back to the TV partners for not giving them enough games. And if that's the case, then the salary cap goes down. Apparently, years ago, the Celtics had to trade Avery Bradley because the Golden State Warriors, I think, lost like 1 or 2 playoff games en route to winning the finals with Kevin Durant on their team. And so I really had enjoyed the last round of the NBA playoffs, which felt like, competitive basketball. The Philadelphia-Boston series, I thought was a fun series to watch. The Lakers and Golden State with LeBron versus Steph, that was good basketball. The Nuggets versus the Suns, the Suns quit in that last game, but I thought that was kind of fun basketball. And these conference finals, I was excited, right? LeBron and Anthony Davis versus Nikola Jokic, that could have gone 6-5 games, something like that. And then the Celtics and the Heat, last year they went to 7 games and the Celtics pulled it out. And so we had a rematch, and Jimmy Butler's been playing out of his mind. And so I thought we were going to get exciting basketball. Not so much. 3-0 and 3-0. And right now they've got the countdown on ESPN that in an hour and 51 minutes, the Nuggets and the Lakers tip off for game number 4. Now, for some reason, the Lakers are favored in this game, but normally when a team's down 3-0 in the NBA, they usually just kind of lay down. Kind of like the Celtics did last night in their game against the Miami Heat. Now, is that game's coming on 94.9 because we've got hockey at 6:30 tonight. But I say all of this because a lot of people are about to complain about the NBA Finals that we're about to get. It's going to be Denver versus Miami, and I would agree that neither franchise is overly sexy. But I do think that we are starting to enter the post-LeBron era of the NBA. Kobe stuck around for a while, but he wasn't the king of the NBA anymore. Kobe won his last title against the Celtics. I want to say 2010 was Kobe's last title. And after that, the Lakers, they competed for a couple of years, but then towards the end, Kobe was it was the nostalgia of seeing Kobe Bryant with the Lakers. Jordan on the Wizards is where I feel like we're starting to head with LeBron. And I still think LeBron's great, but right now, they're getting their butts whooped by Denver and Nikola Jokic. And then there's all these other younger players in the NBA, and I keep wondering, who's going to be the next great player in the NBA? And Jason Tatum keeps getting pushed out there. He scores a lot of points. He's the best player on a team that is consistently competitive, and he's in commercials, and so maybe Tatum might be the next guy. But then it feels like when the going gets tough, Tatum doesn't rise to the occasion. Didn't last year in the finals, and certainly is not right now against Miami. So I'd have to say, Tatum's probably out. Devin Booker made it to the finals a couple of years ago. He scores about 50 points a game, but they don't win enough. He's probably out. The truth is right now the 2 best players in the NBA are probably Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets and Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. And we are going to get an NBA Finals that is going to be Nikola Jokic versus Jimmy Butler. I think those are probably the 2 best players in the entire NBA. Better than Durant at this point. Better than LeBron at this point. Certainly better and more reliable than Anthony Davis. Obviously, Ja Morant, he couldn't do anything with Memphis, and he's got so much stuff going on off the field. Who knows when it comes to him? But so a lot of people are going to complain about the NBA Finals that we're going to get. They're going to say, well, could you imagine what the TV ratings would have been for the Celtics versus the Lakers with LeBron and the Lakers? And it's like, I get it. And I've always joked about CBS when the Titans are in the playoffs. And it's like, okay, CBS, it's the Titans and the Steelers. And everybody at CBS is standing in a circle, holding hands with their heads bowed, saying, Lord, please let the Steelers win so we don't have to put the Titans on national TV in a playoff game. Amen. Same way I think they feel about the Dallas Cowboys. But again, the reason why we play these games is to see who's the best. And the truth is, the Lakers and the Celtics, the teams that would have gotten the higher TV ratings, LeBron James, they're not the best. I want to see the best. And I really think in the NBA right now, we've got the two best players, Nikola Jokic and Jimmy Butler. And so it may be boring how we get there because I think we're going to probably have 2 sweeps. And then we'll have a week off before we play any more basketball. And then after we do that with our basketball, then we'll wait. Then we'll wait for the finals and we'll get to see the best player. It's either Jokic or Butler. And I do enjoy watching both of them play. I think Jokic is awesome. I mean, I can't even compare him to any other player I've seen in the past. I always talk about Karl Malone with an outside game. But the fact that Karl Malone had no outside game makes it almost impossible for me to imagine Karl Malone with an inside game. Texture says, who cares about the NBA? How about the NHL playoffs? 4 overtime games. I'm having a hard time getting into the NHL playoffs. I watched the Vegas-Dallas game last night. I really watched like the third period and overtime. I have to tell you, I have franchise envy for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, it's tough.
I want the Predators to be the Vegas Golden Knights.
I can't root for the Vegas Golden Knights just because, of the whole, call me bitter, but expansion situation and, now look at them. Back again. So,
but they've always been there. Like, here's the thing about the Vegas Golden Knights, and I get it, like the first year in the Cup final, that's ridiculous. But Vegas, ever since they entered the league, they've been a competitor. Every year. And when they start to slip a little bit, they blow it all up. Every time. Last year, they had all these injuries that kept them from making the playoffs, and they fired the coach anyways. And now, they're up 2-0 in the conference final. And when it comes to trading for a big player, Vegas is never shy. They pushed all their chips in on Mark Stone. They got him. You were trying to get Mark Stone, but you weren't able to do it. They pushed all their chips in the middle for Jack Eichel, and they got him. And that doesn't make every move a good move. But it's just the fact that every year it feels like Vegas is always going for it. They have a slip up, fire the coach. Here, it's like I argue every day with these people about what they're going to do when it comes to the coach. With John Hines, like, is he going to stay or is he going to go or whatever it may be? Like, we get in these big fights. I want to be like Vegas. Looks fun. Texture says Jimmy Butler might be the best big game baller since Jordan. Kobe. Come on now. Like, come on now, people. That's it for us. We're out of here. NHL playoffs tonight right here, 102.5. Basketball is on.